Chapter 1726. The Emperor Road has appeared out of nowhere once again. What's going on? It's only been a few decades. Why would the Emperor Road appear again? Could it be that there's going to be a new hegemony contest? At the same time, the undying heavenly domain was in an uproar. Even the paragons were shocked. This was too ridiculous. Boom! The Emperor Road appeared out of nowhere. It was a special road that filled the entire undying heavenly domain. It was like another universe that was suppressing the undying heavenly domain. What was going on? Was there going to be a second Emperor ranking contest? However, based on the previous Emperor Road openings, even if there was a short interval between the openings, it would still take hundreds of thousands of years. How could the Emperor Road appear again after only 34 years? Everything was too strange. The Emperor Road only appeared for a short while before it slowly disappeared as if it had never appeared. The Emperor Road is disappearing. How sudden! The ancestors of the Cien people were shocked. Was the burial ground era coming to an end? Back then, the ancient celestial emperors of the Celestial Court reconstructed the current Emperor Road with the remnants of the burial ground. It guarded the undying heavenly domain and cut off the passage between the immortal world and the immortal world, causing a calamity to befall the world. Although the dark calamity swept over 1,000,000 years ago, they paid a huge price and did not get what they wanted. The ancestors of the Cien people were glad. There were some special reasons why they were able to survive back then. Once the Emperor Road disappeared, a series of major events would follow. What will happen to the remaining human world in the heavens? The expressions of the ancestors of the Cien people were uncertain. What was the heavens? The current void was the heavens' great world, containing countless universes. But what was left now? It was just a dead region. This was the black calamity, filled with endless horror and the unknown. Is the disappearance of the Emperor Road because of Su Yin? In the next moment, the ancestors of the Cien people were shocked. This young man was suspicious. His origin was a mystery. Could it be that he was related to the burial ground era? Or could it be that his origin was even more ancient and mysterious? Could it be that the catastrophe 1,000,000 years ago was really related to Su Yin? At the same time, the entire undying heavenly domain rumbled. It was as if the terrifying shackles of the undying heavenly domain had been broken. The undying heavenly domain was connecting to the heavens, the strongest Tao, the strongest cultivation environment. Is a new era really coming? From this moment on, the entire undying heavenly domain was in an uproar. The ancestral court of the myriad sects rumbled like an ocean, and the horrifying creatures in the world woke up from their slumber. They unleashed boundless energy as they wanted to follow the undying heavenly domain into the strongest cultivation environment. In that instant, some terrifying creatures within the extreme realm took another step forward, seemingly taking another step closer, a major event that shook the entire undying heavenly domain. The influence was too great. It seemed that the horrifying creatures in the sky could continue to grow and strengthen. They were going to enter a relatively ridiculous realm. Of course, such people were few and far between. Even if they tried to grow stronger, they would still feel a faint layer of shackles. This was the remnant influence of the Emperor Road, and it was shocking. Oh my God, look at this! The entire world was in an uproar. Billions of creatures saw the immortal continent resonating. A blazing figure rose from the ground, spewing out billions of rays of chi and blood. In the process of growing in the extreme realm, he let out a loud roar that shook all 3,000 continents. In an instant, a sword ray rose from the ground, slicing open the universe, slashing out a sword ray that could annihilate 10,000 immortals. It crossed one continent after another, terrifying and majestic to the extreme. Some things are coming to an end. A sword ray cut across a continent. It was so thick that it looked like a galaxy in the universe. It crossed over 1,000 continents. Just how domineering was this? In almost an instant, they broke through a terrifying ancestral land, forming a scene where this great province began to sink into the ground. The heavens fell and the earth cracked. Ghosts cried and gods howled. A continent was torn apart by the sword ray. This was the immortal slaying sword. Unimaginable. The Yin Emperor's ancestral land was blasted apart. Dust and rocks rolled in the sky, and a storm howled. The entire continent sank, along with an organization that had stood in the undying heavenly domain for 1,000,000 years. The entire world was shocked. The Xian people's ancestor was even more terrifying. He destroyed a continent with a single slash of his sword. The entire world was in an uproar. Some ancient experts looked at the destroyed continent and were shocked. This was the Yin Emperor's organization. However, there were no experts in the Yin Emperor's organization. The entire nest was empty. It seemed that the Yin Emperor's organization had expected this day to come. Is a catastrophe coming? All living beings in the universe were shocked. The Emperor Road had ended, and the strongest descendants of the Xian people were killed. If it weren't for the rules set at the end of the battle in the heavenly sun continent, the ultimate battle would have started long ago. Now that the Emperor Road was completely closed, it also meant that the ultimate battle was about to start again. The celestial court shall be destroyed. One after another, the ancient experts let out flames of fury. After enduring for decades, this day had finally come. If they didn't uproot the celestial court, they wouldn't be able to vent their hatred. After all, the descendants of this group of terrifying creatures had all fallen in the Emperor Road. They didn't even get to watch the top 10 tournament before it ended prematurely. How can we not take revenge for the loss of our children? This is the cycle of karma. Little brother, I'll kill you. The golden turtle ancestor also stood out. As one of the most ancient creatures in the undying celestial domain, his murderous intent could shake the heavens and earth. Crushing Su Yin to death was nothing. His goal was to crush the strongest person in the celestial court. The undying celestial domain was set ablaze. The flames of chaos were about to burn down the entire universe. The Yin Emperor's organization had retreated. They must have returned to the Xianwang universe. Could that land of death and destruction withstand the joint attack of more than a dozen pinnacle tribes? Moreover, some other Daozu giants would also participate in the battle. This could be said to be a continuation of the great turmoil 1,000,000 years ago. Could the declining celestial court withstand it? My path, my Tao, the 9 called continents was also in an uproar. The Xian people's sect master, who had been silent for decades, had become stronger and more terrifying. Especially after the disappearance of the Emperor's Road, he felt that his path was clearer. Daozu's path was also closer. He roared, "Give me 1 more year, and I'll be able to step into the realm of Daozu. The pinnacle battle is about to begin. I must step into the realm of Daozu before that. Kill Su Yin and crush the Yin Emperor." This was the fighting spirit of the Xian people's sect master. It was very strong and domineering. As the most terrifying tribe in the undying celestial domain, the continuous humiliation had stimulated the fighting spirit of the Xian people's sect master. Daozu was very close to him now. The undying celestial domain was facing a great change. It shook the cultivation world, causing chaos and panic. At the same time, at the peak of Buried Heaven Cave, Su Yin raised his head and roared. He was like a terrifying giant beast that had broken through the heavens and was reborn. His eyes were blazing, as if they were going to tear the heavens apart. 2 terrifying rays of light were produced from his eyes, piercing through the 9 heavens and illuminating the peak of the universe. Especially beside him, an immortal iron staff rose up. It was huge and boundless, stirring up endless storms as it pointed towards the immortal world. Boom! The area trembled violently, causing a terrifying tremor. One after another, the space-time cracks that seemed to have run through thousands of eras started to shake violently. Some forces were awakened, and some forces were awakened. A heaven-defying battle had once happened here. One after another, powerful existences swept across the immortal world. Even if their remnant forces were resurrected, it was enough to shake the 9 heavens and 10 earths, forming an unparalleled deterrent force. What the hell is going on? Wasn't this road broken? How could it be opened again? Unbelievable. Didn't the celestial world become a wasteland? There was no doubt that this had caused a great disturbance. They were all very strong, or they wouldn't be guarding this place and monitoring the lower worlds. However, what happened? Could it be that there were more terrifying giants who were going to slaughter their way over? After all, a long time had already passed since that taboo period of time. Logically speaking, this type of thing shouldn't have happened. It was to the extent where they grabbed an immortal iron staff, feeling their hearts tremble. In that taboo period of history, wasn't this immortal iron staff destroyed? Why was it still here? Without a doubt, the appearance of the immortal iron staff made the experts guarding this place recall a set of dusty memories. Its wielder was an endlessly terrifying existence, belonging to the same faction as that legendary individual, his might shaking the past, present, and future. Su-Yan's hair danced about chaotically. He was even affected by the damaged immortal iron staff's aura, about to turn into an unmatched giant, destroy everything, shake the world. Even though the immortal iron staff was damaged, its power was still there, its essence, energy, inextinguishable. This was its fighting spirit. Even if the heavens collapsed and the earth split apart, even if the end of the universe arrived, even if it died in battle, its essence energy would exist forever. How long? The effects of this place became even more intense. The incredibly damaged Heaven Burial Cave rumbled, the 33 heavens continuously shaking, surging with the grand aura of the great cosmos, as well as the boundless heaven burial might. One could see with the naked eye that Heaven Burial Cave was shrinking, ultimately turning into a square artifact. Even though it was damaged, even though it was in tatters, it was still the most powerful heavenly passage of the burial earth era, turning into a supreme treasure on its own. It rippled with the might of the 33 heavens, carrying the power of the burial earth era. If a Buddha blocked it, it would kill a Buddha. If a deity blocked it, it would destroy a deity. The 33 heavens suspended above Su-Yan's head, the 33 heavens divine waterfall pouring down. It also vaguely displayed the remnant souls and wills of the 32nd generation disciples, scattering down, the aura truly terrifying beyond compare. Su-Yan's trembling hands grasped the 33 heavens. He felt as if endless power was added to his body, as if he turned into the Lord of the 33 heavens, becoming exceptional and terrifying. Even though this wasn't his own power, it was perfectly grasped by Su-Yan. I am a heavenly embryo born and nurtured by the heavens, slumbering at the peak of the 33 heavens. Su-Yan suddenly roared out, as if he had seen through a terrifying truth. His mind force rushed into the depths of Heaven Burial Cave once more. Without a doubt, he once again experienced his previous memories, the scenes of him becoming a disciple of the 33 heavens. These scenes could be reincarnated an infinite number of times, but they also seemed to be real. It was as if he had truly lived in prehistoric times. This method was too terrifying. It was hard to imagine that it could make a person who had never appeared return to the past, experience things, and engrave them in his heart. They want to tell me all of this. I won't forget. Su-Yan's chest violently heaved up and down. A disciple who had never been born, a disciple who had never lived in Heaven Burial Cave, experiencing the reincarnation of history was something he would never forget. Then, who had left behind these reincarnation scenes of history? Am I really a heavenly embryo born and nurtured by the heavens? Su-Yan roared out again. No one could tell him the answer. He now had the most ancient identity, the 33rd generation disciple of Heaven Burial Cave. At this moment, Su-Yan frowned slightly as he stared at the 33 heavens. Sure enough, he saw what he wanted to know the most, the Great War a million years ago. The heavenly embryo was floating at the peak of the 33 heavens. When it was about to be born, the black calamity descended and almost crushed Heaven Burial Cave. At the same time, the heavenly embryo almost died, and its essence chi was exhausted. It was supposed to be a heaven-defying being with great achievements. Now, it was facing a great disaster. However, not only was there endless darkness in the black calamity, but he also saw the plain projection of the celestial world. The Emperor Road was created by the ancient celestial emperors, but there was a faction in the celestial world that had joined forces with the Black Calamity to open the seal of the Emperor Road set by the ancient celestial emperors. Their targets seemed to be him. In the scenes of Heaven Burial Caves, 33 Heavens, the heavenly embryo was about to explode and the life spring was about to break. However, whether it was the Black Calamity or the powerhouses from the celestial world, what were they looking for in Heaven Burial Cave? They even tried to take him away. In short, in the history of his slumber, he had encountered two great disasters. Now, he was taken away after surviving with great difficulty. The Celestial Court sent out billions of troops to fight for the Emperor Road's ultimate destination. This was a bloody incident that shook the universe a million years ago. The colossal Celestial Court had also announced its complete decline because of the continuation of the prehistoric war. He was even sent into a bloody heavenly coffin. Suyan's mind was a little confused. Could it be that the black and white fog originated from the bloody heavenly coffin? Then, what was the coffin that sank into the human world? It was obvious that the bloody heavenly coffin that accompanied his birth came from the Celestial Court. It was not the mysterious coffin in the human world that the Grand Supreme had mentioned. This was a huge discovery. Su Yin could not understand it no matter how hard he thought. Su Yin vaguely heard an unwilling roar in the historical scenes of Heaven Burial Cave. The roar was about to shatter the bloody heavenly coffin. They felt that they had overlooked something. There is no emperor in Heaven Burial. This was a cruel statement from the celestial world. It was accompanied by the supreme order of laws that affected the world and thousands of generations. What was an emperor? Su Yin did not understand, but it must be related to the celestial world. The reincarnation emperor who attacked him back then was in charge of the celestial world's emperor's mandate. This was definitely a special method that connected to the emperor's mandate. It was closely related to the celestial world. Understand now. The 9 transformations, True Dragon must have wanted to be the emperor's mandate back then. In the end, he was killed. This is equivalent to a curse that limits the growth of this world. Su Yin was furious. The Black Calamity was a great disaster. However, some forces in the celestial world had joined forces with the Black Calamity. Their goal must be huge. It was equivalent to continuing the war that ended the era of Heaven Burial. It was obvious that they did not find what they wanted and were preparing to do it again. However, this time they should have failed. However, the celestial world was also evil. The celestial world again. What grudge do I have with you that you want to kill me? Su Yin roared angrily. The first time, it was the reincarnation emperor. The second time, it was the celestial world's forces that participated. The emperor's road had become a land of blood. Could it be that the celestial court's billions of troops had all died? His heart was filled with grief and anger. It also affected his immortal iron staff to shake even more violently. The flowing battle fire became stronger and stronger. Wong. Su Yin held the immortal iron staff and felt its fighting spirit. He felt its battle heart. You want to go up and fight? Su Yin's eyes were red. He let out a low roar. My brother, you are too badly damaged. The immortal iron staff trembled. It was too badly damaged, but it could feel that its body was in the celestial world. You want to fight your way up? Fine, let's give it a try. Su Yan's eyes were like burning torches. His clothes flapped loudly. If not for the Tao Emperor and the ancient celestial court's billions of troops, he would have been long gone. Now, why would he be afraid of battle? At this moment, he was exceptionally domineering. The 33 levels of heaven were above his head, and his fingers were holding the immortal iron staff tightly. In an instant, he rushed into the sky like a terrifying comet. He let out a loud roar and charged into the celestial world. Not good. There really is a huge monster coming up from below. At the gate of the celestial world, the group of guards were shocked. Some of them panicked and shouted, "Quick, quick!" This group of experts went from fear to panic in a short period of time. Before they could say what to do next, Su Yin was already infinitely close. He had not arrived yet, but the 33 levels of heaven above his head were already blazing and terrifying. It gave birth to 36 universe seas, interweaving with endless rules and order, forming a might that could pierce through heaven and earth. The surging 33 levels of heaven's order laws penetrated Su Yan's flesh shell. In an instant, Su Yan felt that he had stepped into the realm of Daozu. It was peerless and terrifying. The light of the 33 levels of heaven's universe gushed out, and the 33 levels of heaven's grand universe appear behind him. One had to admit that this was very shocking. Heaven Burial Cave could merge with Su Yan and turn into a Daozu war god. It was ridiculously powerful. Kill! Su Yan roared. The immortal iron staff in his hand became more and more brilliant, gushing with endless battle, sacred light. Although it was damaged, its essence, energy, and spirit were too terrifying. Even the immortal iron staff had absorbed the remnant power of the space-time crack along the way. Its previous owner was definitely an invincible giant. Now that it had absorbed the remnant power of its owner, it caused the immortal iron staff to become 1,000,000,000 times more turbulent in an instant. Roar! Su Yan felt that the immortal iron staff was so heavy that he could not even lift it. His blood was boiling, and his combat strength soared to the extreme. He stood in Heaven Burial Cave, and his strength surged endlessly. Boom! Finally, he waved the immortal iron staff again. It was boundless and majestic to the extreme. Vaguely, an indomitable divine monkey stood on the clouds, overlooking the long river of time. Its divine might was unparalleled, and it wielded the immortal iron staff together with Su Yan. Was this the weapon's soul, or was it the mark of the immortal iron staff's owner? No matter what, Su Yan felt that he was too powerful now. He could definitely kill the golden turtle progenitor with a single strike. Far away in the undying heavenly domain, the golden turtle progenitor, who was discussing with the Xian people about how to massacre the Xianhuang universe, suddenly had an idea. What's going on? Who dares to talk about the golden turtle? Boom! The immortal iron staff dominated the world. It was boundless and majestic. It unleashed a terrifying attack, blasting open a space-time crack. This was the most terrifying and invincible attack. The divine monkey behind Su Yan burned fiercely, causing the immortal iron staff to be incomparably terrifying. It forcibly blasted open the immortal world gate guarding this place. The heavens seemed to be trembling as a similar incident occurred. Su Yan wielded the iron rod and destroyed the celestial realm's gate. He even plowed a bloody hole in the sky. The immortal world is evil. Su Yan also let out a furious roar. This world was evil, and he wanted to kill it with a single strike. Super Chapter 2-in-1. Chapter 17:27. Immortal Realm's domain gate exploded. A terrifying iron rod tore through the clouds and mist, destroying the peak of the heavens, following the path of time and space, blasting apart Immortal Realm's domain gate again. The immortal iron rod moved through the sky, its might crushing the 9 heavens, 10 earths. It was too massive and grand, scattering down extreme power, surging with endless battle flames, about to gather the power of a prehistoric battle, blasting open Immortal Realm's great gates. An enormous bloody hole appeared in the peak of the heavens. Grandpa Su came, still alive. Su Yan leapt into Immortal Realm, grabbing the immortal iron rod, domineering beyond compare. In reality, Su Yan was panicking as well. If not for the immortal iron rod being powerful, he wouldn't have chosen to come up. Su Yan felt like this rod was extremely terrifying, still possessing the power of an unmatched giant, definitely able to smash someone to death. How long? A heaven-covering pressure descended, terrifying aura swirling, sweeping through the boundless world. No matter how sturdy Immortal Realm's territory was, no matter how terrifying Immortal Realm's experts were, at this moment, they were still crushed by the immortal iron rod. The entire great earth collapsed, countless cultivators kneeling on the ground while trembling. This was especially the case with the group of experts guarding the domain gate, who cried out miserably. They were all great experts of Immortal Realm, all of them having terrifying inheritances and inheritances behind them. There were some who died miserably on the spot, blasted into a lump of meat paste. There were also large amounts of cultivators who flew outwards, smashing into the mountains and rivers, their hearts filled with fear. There really was an expert who slaughtered his way over, too savage. It was to the extent where one couldn't even see his face. His entire body was covered in the light of the 33 heavens. He grasped the damaged, immortal iron rod, his aura devouring the heavens, as if he was an unmatched great vicious that charged up from the lower realm, his roar shaking the starry sky. Long. However, something even more cruel happened. This vast, ancient realm trembled, the immortal iron rod's power finally affecting a few things. The aura left behind by the expert who previously attacked this place suddenly revived. In that instant, heaven and earth collapsed, ghosts wept, and deities howled. The entire ancient realm was trembling, about to bleed. A drifting rain of blood descended from the heavens, engulfing everything, submerging the entire ancient realm. Countless creatures were alarmed, feeling as if doomsday was descending. It surrounded all of the creatures, carrying out a death sentence. Heavens, it seems like someone is slaughtering their way up. Who is attacking the immortal world? Are they tired of living? Countless creatures cried out loudly. They couldn't believe what happened today. What kind of universe was the immortal world? Who could fight their way here? However, the other party truly did it. This was a challenge to the entire immortal realm, something that would startle unmatched emperor clans into joining hands to deal with. Now, the entire ancient fiend god world was shaking. Whether it was the forbidden grounds or the famous mountains and rivers, they were all shaking uncontrollably. Vaguely, the aura of the ancient celestial emperors filled the air. It covered the universe and time and dominated the entire ancient world. Moreover, it continued to spread out, surging with a ferocious might that oppressed all living things. It was difficult to change or reverse. It could only be allowed to flow out. Even though for the immortal realm, this realm wasn't much, right now, this realm was trembling as if it was going to collapse. This matter was extremely terrifying. There were also people who released a low roar. Hurry and inform the emperor clans to suppress the rebellion. The celestial realm was supreme, and any powerhouse from the outerverse who tried to kill their way into the celestial realm would be treated as a rebellion and would have to be suppressed. Although there were bloody incidents that couldn't be suppressed in the past, they were extremely rare. Basically, they wouldn't continue to happen or appear. This is the immortal world. Su Yan's pupils burned like torches. Above his head were the 33 layers of heaven. Looking at this world, his first impression was that it was too vast. He didn't know how many ancient worlds there were. Su Yan's understanding of the immortal world was limited. He knew that in prehistoric times, the burial ground era and the immortal world were like fire and water. Even though the root cause of the burial ground's destruction was the dark calamity, the immortal world definitely took action as well. The Reincarnation Emperor was definitely a powerhouse of the immortal world. After countless years, he found the burial ground cave to kill him. If it wasn't for the ancient celestial emperors protecting his true fate, he wouldn't have lived until now. In the bloody war 1,000,000 years ago, the immortal world also participated, choosing to join hands with the dark calamity. This filled Su Yan with grief and anger. Even though he didn't live in the burial ground era and didn't live 1,000,000 years ago, he now bore too many grudges. He wanted nothing more than to destroy the entire immortal world. At this moment, Su Yan was silent. Where should I go? He felt that standing in the immortal world, his strength was still too weak. The reason he could kill his way up was mainly because of the burial ground cave and the immortal iron staff. Without these two powers, what could he do? Su Yan suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. What right did the weak have to talk about karma in front of strong? Su Yan, come back quickly. Suddenly, wave after wave of faintly discernible sounds rumbled. They swept over at an extremely fast speed and were transmitted into Su Yan's ears. Su Yan's eyes followed the path he came up from, looking down into the distance. This path was too deep, and he couldn't see the end. But he knew that this was the voice of the Dao Shui, calling for him to return quickly. The immortal world wasn't a place he could force his way into. I feel a kind of call, calling for me to join the battle. Su Yan's gaze fell on the burial ground cave and found that there were some ancient remnant thoughts surging out of the burial ground cave, yearning for him to join the battle and avenge his humiliation. At this moment, Su Yan found that there was a huge stone tablet standing in front of him, towering into the sky. It was golden and dazzling, and there was a sacred light burning, enough to collapse the clouds, with a glorious aura dancing in the sky. If he used his heart to feel it, he would find that the stone tablet was like a world of gods and demons. His ears were transmitting the battle cries, and even after a long time, it could still inspire his chi and blood and inspire his fighting spirit. Battlefield of gods and demons. Su Yan's eyes were blazing, and he saw the 4 words clearly, shocking his soul. He felt the everlasting might of the heavens on this ancient stone tablet, and there was also the endless light of glory, stimulating his fighting spirit to boil. Unknowingly, Su Yan suddenly quivered. He found that there was a kind of fighting spirit affecting him, urging him to fight in the immortal world. Is it you who is affecting my thinking? Su Yan looked at the broken immortal iron rod. It could erupt with the most invincible attack. The immortal iron rod had a spirit. It bent and pointed at the battlefield of gods and demons. You asked me to come up because you want me to go to the battlefield of gods and demons to compete with the geniuses of the immortal world. Su Yan suddenly felt that the immortal world was a big stage, and he should compete with the geniuses of the strongest environment. Only then could he find his own shortcomings and gap. Su Yan laughed loudly. Just in case, I will leave an incarnation to participate in the battle, in case it is blocked by the old monsters of the immortal world. At that time, it will be difficult to leave even if I want to. Su Yan transformed into the 3 pure ones, walked out an incarnation, and rushed into the battlefield of gods and demons. He felt that this was a battlefield to measure the geniuses of the immortal world. Su Yan didn't know what the immortal world was, but he wanted to know as soon as possible, to compete with the geniuses of the immortal world, to fight to his heart's content. After doing all this, Su Yan's main body withdrew, carrying the immortal iron rod, and followed a path to the lower realm. To be more precise, Su Yan slipped away quickly. At the same time, he found that there was a terrible resistance on this path. The elites of their world could use all their strength to cross over, but it was almost impossible for the elites of the immortal world to follow this path to the lower realm. Otherwise, the immortal world would definitely invade the buried heaven cave again. Perhaps the purpose of the Emperor Road's existence was to block this path, or it might be blocking other paths as well. However, not long after Su Yan left, this trembling ancient world was swept by all kinds of terrible storms, and great divine power came from everywhere, rushing towards the immortal world. Why was this called the immortal world? Naturally, it had a lot to do with the battlefield of gods and demons. This immortal world was also very important to the immortal world, but such a terrible thing happened suddenly, and a realm gate of the immortal world was destroyed. It had to be said that it alarmed some major forces. Who destroyed the realm gate tunnel? Groups of terrifying giants descended upon the demonic god realm, their faces gloomy. This wasn't just about the celestial realm's reputation. The region gate's territory wasn't an ordinary land of danger. A tragic historical event had occurred there before. The group of surviving guardians trembled, not daring to breathe too loudly. They knelt on the ground, accepting the judgment of some giant clans. However, the experts who rushed here didn't believe them at all when they said that there were people fighting their way up from the lower realm. Bullshit. They were angry. This realm gate was the closest to the human world. But the human world had long been destroyed, reduced to a wasteland, a land of death and destruction. Their world could not come out again to attack the elites of the immortal world. It was not just the human world, but the celestial major worlds had long been reduced to a wasteland. It's true. If you don't believe me, you can reverse time and see what happened before. This group of guardians had a great background, and someone said with a red face, the impact of the realm gate's explosion was too great, and they could not bear the responsibility. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying figure appeared at the end of the world. His head was the immortal sky, and his feet stepped on the desolate earth. His figure almost filled up an ancient world. An endless light gushed out, so bright that it was difficult to open one's eyes, especially the vertical eye between his brows. When it opened and closed, lightning flashed and thunder roared, and heaven and earth trembled. Terrifying reincarnation light sputtered out. Heavens! The spectators in the distance were all frightened. No one thought that they would alarm the supreme Emperor clan. No, it's a king-level elite. There were even people who lost control and cried out loudly. The experts that were charging over were boundlessly powerful and tyrannical. A blazing radiance gushed out from the crown of their heads, engraving themselves at the peak of the heavens. Ancient characters that oppressed all living things appeared one after another. King Luin, it really is an elite from the lower world who attacked the immortal world. Please investigate. The 6 guardians cried out in fear, and all of them knelt on the ground, their butts raised high, and sweat poured down their bodies like rain. They never thought that they would alarm the Emperor clan, and even more so, that they would alarm the Emperor clan's king. What was a king? It was enough to be called the master of a world, the king of saints, terrifying beyond compare. Deceiving people with lies, kill. King Luin's angry roar shook heaven and earth. The 6 guardians trembled, and blood flowed out from their mouths and noses. Their heads were really about to explode. They were in despair. A huge heavenly wheel came from behind King Luin's head and suppressed, immediately killing the 6 guardians. The spectators' expressions changed, but they didn't say anything. After all, the historical tragedy that happened back then was deeply related to this clan. This clan was almost wiped out from the immortal world. King Luin's face was also gloomy. There was a huge problem in this world. Who dared to reverse time and space? They wouldn't even know how they died. Moreover, the matter of destroying the immortal world gate was too big. Whether it was true or not, they had to keep it a secret. This immortal and devil world was the territory controlled by the reincarnation Emperor clan. They couldn't allow this kind of thing to continue spreading. I've checked the ancient worlds nearby and didn't find any aura of pollution. A powerful elite with boundless soul energy came and said this sentence, making the gathered elites breathe a sigh of relief. To the immortal world, any outsider might have a pollution aura that could pollute the air and environment of the immortal world. This was somewhat related to the Black Calamity. But where did they go? The ancient worlds nearby were very quiet, and there were no disturbances. In short, the matter just now happened very quickly and also ended very quickly. It was too strange, and everyone was confused. Could they have run to the immortal and devil battlefield? Someone muttered. The people nearby shook their heads. The immortal and devil battlefield was only limited to the immortal path. Since the other party could kill his way in like this, he couldn't enter at all. Moreover, in the immortal and devil battlefield, a group of prodigies were fighting for supremacy, preparing for the upcoming King Conferral battle. What was a King Conferral battle? King Luin was a King Conferral battle expert, a king recognized by the immortal world's origin. His divine might was overwhelming, and he controlled the life and death of a world. Chapter 1728. The outer realm was deathly still without any fluctuations of vitality. This was a dead star region, riddled with holes. Broken stars drifted about silently, and the suns that filled the sky had all been extinguished. This also caused the sky to darken, but the boundless earth was dyed in the color of blood. It was extremely barren. Su Yin had arrived, barging into the battlefield of gods and demons. His black hair draped over his shoulders, and his expression was grim. He was like a supreme demon god overlooking the universe. The blood-colored earth was thick and heavy. It seemed dilapidated and desolate, but it was filled with a terrifying vitality. It was as if millions upon millions of gods and demons had been buried here. The essence of life leaked out over the years, nourishing this world and filling it with an overflowing demonic aura. Su Yin stood tall in the battlefield of gods and demons. Cold lightning shot out from his eyes, as if he could see through the entire battlefield. He was powerful and intimidating. He had been silent for 30 to 40 years and had never made a move. Although his immortal Tao had yet to reach perfection, his battle prowess was too frightening. He was a supreme being, even more powerful than a supreme being. Su Yan's eyes sputtered with radiance, tearing through the layers of the void. He saw through the realm that was calling him. Su Yan strolled through the battlefield of gods and demons, one step after another. The deeper he went, the more he was disturbed by the battlefield. It caused the silent blood in Su Yan's body to boil, erupting with the sound of a tsunami. This was merely the sound of Su Yan's blood flowing, but it was already frightening enough. At this moment, Su Yan crossed over a vast territory and arrived at a huge graveyard world. The entire world was filled with graveyards. It was impossible to count how many there were. The aura here was bitter and bloody. Vaguely, the light of millions upon millions of gods and demons rose between the mountains and valleys. It shone on the Silent Star region, forming a shocking scene. What was this? Millions upon millions of gods and demons stood in the sky, emitting the power and glory they had before they were born. They were world-shocking when they were alive, or else they wouldn't have the qualifications to leave behind their corpses in graveyards on the battlefield of gods and demons. There were too many graveyards. They were densely packed, and most of them were extremely short and small. What attracted Su Yan's attention was the gigantic graveyards in the depths. These graveyards seemed to be breathing with life. They glowed, causing Su Yan's blood to boil as he sensed a powerful calling. His eyes darkened. Could it be that in the era of Burial Earth, there was an outstanding disciple of heaven-burying cave that died in the battlefield of gods and demons? He walked over. There were huge graves of different colors. Some were black, some were purple, and some were green. Every grave was tattered and covered in weeds. No one cared for them all year round. The dilapidated graveyard caused Su Yan's emotions to surge, especially the 3 graveyards. They were extremely attractive to him. He wanted nothing more than to rush up, smash the graveyards, and dig out the corpses within. Buzz! Su Yan's pupils suddenly opened. Radiance blazed as he looked towards the interior of the dilapidated graveyard. Inside the first black graveyard, there was a dyed corpse. It was unknown how many eras and years had passed, but the corpse was still emitting a peerless and terrifying fighting spirit. Just how powerful was this fallen expert when he was alive? Even after so many years, he still had a powerful fighting spirit. One could imagine that he was definitely an indomitable and unrivaled war god when he was alive. Boom! All of a sudden, the graveyard shone. Layers of terrifying aura leaked out. It was enough to destroy the world, causing the deathly, silent outer space to tremble uncontrollably as if it was being torn apart. This was definitely an extremely terrifying expert when he was alive. He looked down on all of his peers. Even if he died in battle, his powers still existed in his corpse. Moreover, densely packed runes flashed out. They were like millions upon millions of symbols of gods and demons that were refined into his body. It was extremely terrifying. The tens of thousands of graveyards were rumbling. They were affected by the aura of this dilapidated graveyard. Su Yin felt a kind of aura, an aura that could shatter the world. It was an aura that could break the shackles and return the soul to the ancient land. The corpses in the graveyard trembled violently. They wanted to rush out, leave this place, and kill their way back. Su Yin was disturbed. He had a strong urge to smash the graveyard and leave with the corpses within. Boom! All of a sudden, the golden stone tablet in front of the graveyard rumbled. This stone tablet had come back to life and turned into a terrifying man. He was extremely powerful and inconceivable. Although it was only a divine ability left behind in the stone tablet, it contained an unrivaled heavenly might that could suppress the universe and rivers and mountains. The ancient and dilapidated graveyard wailed. Weeds grew everywhere, and the ice-cold corpses within began to tremble. It was as if they were directly crushed by the energy from the stone tablet. The stone tablet was here, suppressing the corpses within the graveyard. So much so that the more astonishing the stone tablet's operation, the more terrifying the man that appeared within became. Soon, Su Yan's eyes were wide open in anger as he spied on this man's appearance. His figure was tall and imposing, densely covered in golden scales. He possessed a kind of great might that was unrivaled in the same generation. However, a golden vertical eye flashed between his brows and shot out two terrifying reincarnation lightning. It was about to penetrate the graveyard and shatter the restless corpses within. Su Yan let out a deep roar. The blood in his body surged with anger. He wanted to immediately take action and destroy the stone tablet. He wanted to crush the man within the stone tablet. He could see that this man was certainly of the same lineage as the reincarnation emperor who targeted him a long time ago. If it wasn't for the ancient celestial emperors protecting his true fate, he would have already perished. The 33rd generation of disciples of the heaven-bearing grotto would also be reduced to nothing. This lineage could also be declared to have come to an end. This was a blood feud. Su Yan's tall body shone, and his scattered hair danced in the wind. No matter how powerful this clan was, he would have to face them in the future. Who's there? Suddenly, a surprised voice came and woke Su Yan up. Su Yan frowned slightly. There were still living creatures here? He looked over and saw a woman following the fluctuations. According to her understanding, this glorious land of the immortal world had not had any fluctuations for a long time. This woman was very elegant. Her skin was white and beautiful. She had the aura of an immortal. Her eyes were clear, and she wore a long blue dress. Her figure was slender, and her steps were light. In this dilapidated graveyard, she seemed very out of place. Compared to the layout of this area, she was really out of place. In particular, her silver hair was sparkling and overflowing with light. When she noticed that the dilapidated graveyard was shaking, her expression suddenly became strange. She looked at Su Yan with a bewildered expression and said, "Who are you? And who are you?" Su Yan asked, "What's your name?" The woman glared at Su Yan and curled her lips. "Why should I tell you?" This woman looked a little strange. She had the aura of an immortal. Vaguely, the aura of a true phoenix was faintly discernible in her snow-white skin. "You're not human." Su Yan was surprised. "You're a phoenix?" The woman's face was a little dark. She pointed at the graveyard and said, "What's your relationship with the losers in the graveyard? Why do you call them losers?" Su Yan's brows were tightly knitted. Losers who died on the battlefield of gods and demons. If they're not losers, then what are they? The lady had a natural expression as she looked at Su Yan with a strange gaze. She thought to herself that this was really a strange person. Hey. Seeing that Su Yan ignored her and even continued to look at the graveyard, she was dissatisfied. "Why aren't you talking?" "I don't talk to people of unknown origins." Su Yan's response almost made the woman's face fall. Who was the unknown origin? "My name is Mu Xian," she said through gritted teeth. Mu Xian. Su Yan's gaze landed on her again. Then he pointed at the golden stone tablet and said, "Who left this stone tablet?" Mu Xian was a little stunned. She stared at Su Yan as if she was looking at a fool. What kind of strange person was this guy? Although it had been a long time since the battle between the Sky Tyrant Lord and the elites of the graveyard, the commotion caused back then was too shocking. Did this guy not know? Of course, even if he really didn't know, he still didn't know which race the man that appeared in the golden stone tablet was from. "You don't know either?" Su Yan looked at her with disdain. Mu Xian clenched her fists. She said angrily, "You don't even know the reincarnation emperor tribe. I really wonder if you're from the celestial world." The reincarnation emperor tribe. Su Yan took a deep breath and asked, "Are they very strong?" Mu Xian was speechless. She was completely defeated by Su Yan. She tried her best to calm herself down and said, "Of course they're very strong. They're a peerless sovereign tribe that looks down on the celestial world. They have a large number of emperors. The divine ability in the stone tablet was left behind by the Sky Tyrant Lord. He was one of the most terrifying kings back then. As for the strong cultivator in the graveyard," Muexan sighed and said, "I have to say that he's also very terrifying. Back then, he almost dominated the battlefield of divinities and demons. It's said that he was the 30th generation disciple of the Sky Burying Cave. He was the only direct disciple of the Sky Burying Cave, and he died on the battlefield of divinities and demons. Back then, this matter shocked the entire celestial world. Although there were other disciples of the Sky Burying Cave who died on the battlefield of divinities and demons, it wasn't the battlefield of divinities and demons. It was the battlefield of kings, the peak of the celestial world. It was said that the 30th generation disciple of the Sky Burying Cave was extremely powerful. Unfortunately, he died on the battlefield of divinities and demons. He was one of the strongest geniuses who died on the battlefield of divinities and demons. At the same time, his death also helped the Sky Tyrant Lord, who was the most terrifying noble in the reincarnation imperial family. Su Yan's chest rose and fell violently, and the blood in his body was boiling. He had died for a long time, and the stone tablet was here to suppress his corpse. This was a great humiliation. The blood in his body was boiling, and his hair was dancing. His aura was getting more and more terrifying. In fact, this was Su Yan's senior brother, and he had never met him before. Muexan was a little surprised. She looked at Su Yan and felt that this person was very strong and not weak. But why didn't he know anything? Wait, Muexan was shocked. Could it be that he was related to the losers in the graveyard? How do I leave with the corpse? Su Yan's eyes shot out cold lightning. Who are you? Muexan pointed at Su Yan and screamed. You want to fight on behalf of the people in the graveyard? Are you crazy? The stone tablet represents the Sky Tyrant Lord. You mean to say that in order to take the corpse, I have to defeat the Sky Tyrant Lord? Su Yan asked. Of course. The Sky Tyrant Lord left a divine power in the stone tablet to suppress the losers. If you win, you can get the divine power he left behind, and you can also get the weapon of the 30th generation disciple of the Sky Burying Cave. It was cruel and bloody. Su Yan thought of the Grand Supreme back then. She must have wanted to kill her way up and take the corpse of the 30th generation disciple. I say, who are you? Muexan's curiosity was completely aroused. She said half-jokingly, of course, if you want to take the corpse or the other corpses, there is another way. You can start the battle of divinities and demons and challenge all the geniuses on the battlefield of divinities and demons. Chapter 1729. The Sky Tyrant Lord had been famous for a long time. It was impossible to challenge him unless Su Yan was at the same level as the Sky Tyrant Lord. Muexan knew there was another path. Very few dared to open it. In the era of the battlefield of gods and demons, the number of people who succeeded could be counted on one hand. These people all became terrifying giants in the immortal world. It was not difficult to be given the title of king. Moreover, the title was extremely powerful and intimidating. They were all giants in the immortal world. This was not an ordinary path. Once, the 30th generation of disciples in the Burying Cave opened the strongest battlefield. He almost succeeded. Unfortunately, he died in the hands of the Sky Tyrant Lord. At the same time, he also helped the Sky Tyrant Lord achieve his supreme prestige. The battlefield of gods and demons was opened by the immortal world. Once the lower world succeeded in sweeping through the strongest battlefield, the situation would be terrible. It would also affect the dignity of the immortal world. Challenge all the geniuses. Su Yan's eyes were burning. There was not only the corpse of the senior brother of the Burying Cave, but also the corpses of other burial ground experts. The other two tombs were also dilapidated and full of holes. However, Su Yan could see that the corpses in the tombs were vaguely resonating with him. There was no doubt that although they were not disciples of the Burying Cave, they were also peerless geniuses of the burial ground. There were also stone tablets in front of the two tombs. Who is he? Muexian's heart was in turmoil. Did he come from the mortal world? But that was impossible. The mortal world had been destroyed long ago. Even if it could recover, the road between them and the immortal world had been broken long ago. Although the mortal world had changed its name to the burial ground, the immortal world did not recognize it and did not recognize its independence. After all, the mortal world was restricted by the immortal world. Everyone knew that the mortal world was the strongest in the celestial world. However, people in the immortal world knew that the celestial world had been eroded by the Black Calamity and had been reduced to a wasteland long ago. This was a matter of billions of years ago. The Black Calamity was rampant, and the immortal world had closed all the passages to the outside world. If he really came from a mortal world, did he follow that road? Muexian could not calm down. She had a great origin. She had heard her grandfather talk about a forbidden history. It was about a legendary person who had once broken through the immortal world and opened a road. Boom! In the blink of an eye, a blazing radiance bloomed like a thunderclap in the void. Just as the graveyard was about to rise and rumble, it was instantly suppressed by the stone tablet in front of it. Suyan's eyes were ice cold. One of the stone tablets was densely covered in resplendent runes. They were so densely packed that it was difficult to count them all. In the end, they combined together to form a terrifying figure. It was as if an immortal war god had appeared, suppressing the sea of stars in the cosmos. Immortal body technique. Suyan's face darkened. The inheritance of the Xian people and the celestial realm. The expert who left behind the stone steels used immortal body techniques to gamble with the experts of the burial lands. They could also gamble with weapons and secret techniques. But, unsurprisingly, the items they gambled were all extremely terrifying. It was either a clan's top 10 supreme secret technique or a terrifying supreme treasure. In short, this type of gamble was extremely frightening because it involved the fate of the clan. Once they lost, not only would they have to leave behind their corpses, their weapons and secret techniques would also have to be left behind. However, if he wanted to take it away, he would have to challenge the victor. This was a vicious cycle, but he had no choice but to fight. This was related to the dignity of the origin of the cosmos. He would fight for his dignity, never cower, never admit defeat. What happened? Who awakened the slumbering war souls? At this time, a group of people rushed over from the original world. Their auras were extremely powerful and rich, carrying a strong battle aura, as well as the stench of blood. Without a doubt, this group of people had just won the battle of gods and demons. Someone saw Muexian and said with a face full of adoration, "Fairy Muexian, what happened here?" This stone tablet was left behind by the Sky Tyrant Lord and the others. Why are their war souls awakening? A dozen or so young experts rushed over. Their chi and blood were powerful, their immortal Tao power perfect. They were all supreme beings, and for the celestial realm, they could be called perfect immortal Tao realm, only a step away from the saint realm. One had to admit that they were very powerful. From this, one could see the prosperity and level of the celestial realm. However, becoming a saint was too difficult. Even for the celestial realm, it was 1 in 10,000. After generations of battles of gods and demons, it was already a very high probability that 1 or 2 of the victors would emerge. Under normal circumstances, it would be difficult for even one to emerge. However, the celestial realm was vast and boundless, with millions of races. Geniuses were everywhere, overlords were everywhere, and there was a large number of king-level experts in every generation. Thus, there really was no lack of top-notch experts. There was also a peerless Emperor clan that dominated heaven and earth, and the geniuses of the Emperor clan looked down on all. Who is this brat? At the same time, the experts gathered here focused their eyes on Suyan. They realized that this person seemed to have resonated with the 3 great burial grounds. Their expressions darkened at the same time. Among them, a bare-chested man with bronze skin walked out. He tossed out a treasured mirror, which shone on Suyan's body. Muexian wanted to stop him, but it was too late. This in itself was disrespectful and contemptuous to Su Yan. However, Xionghan's background was not small, and he was very confident. He shone the treasured mirror on Su Yan, but it was very difficult to see clearly. This made his expression turn cold. He said, "Who are you? This person's aura is a bit strange." Another woman spoke, frowning. "It's not very pure. It's like the polluted aura recorded in the ancient books." What? The young experts gathered here all changed their expressions. This group of people looked as if they were facing a great enemy. In particular, Xionghan shouted sternly, "Could it be that he's not a native of our celestial realm, but came from the wasteland of the lower realm and was polluted by the black calamity?" They called the lower realm the wasteland, although they had never been to the lower realm. However, according to their family's ancient books, the lower realm was not suitable for living, and it was very difficult to walk the path of an expert. Moreover, the black calamity was unstoppable and spreading. If there were experts from the lower realm who came to the celestial realm, their movements would be restricted, and they would be watched by the Xian people. They could only move about in the celestial realm after being cleansed. "Brat, you actually dare to not answer in front of me." Xionghan was a bit angry. He glared angrily at Su Yan and shouted with great power, "Tell me honestly, what relationship do you have with the losers in the graveyard?" The woman who said that Su Yan had the polluted aura frowned in disgust and said, "These broken bones, what relationship can they have? The human realm was destroyed by the black calamity long ago. This realm was too arrogant. Back then, they left our celestial realm. Otherwise, they wouldn't have fallen to such a miserable state." Su Yan's gaze was very cold. Broken bones? The graveyard did collapse because of the black calamity, but some forces in the celestial realm also took action. Although he didn't know how many forces participated, the Reincarnation Emperor clan was definitely one. However, this kind of thing was not known to the other clans in the celestial realm. They did it in secret. Xionghan's expression became colder and colder. Su Yan didn't pay attention to him and even showed hostility. Could it be that he really came from the lower realm? If that was true, he had to immediately report to the higher-ups and restrict Su Yan so that he couldn't move around the celestial realm. "Your words are too much. This is my friend. It's just that there are some problems with his cultivation. Please don't make things difficult for him." Mu Xian quickly stood out. She was worried that Su Yan would be suppressed and imprisoned. Otherwise, his fate would be too tragic. She had some understanding of the history of the human realm. It wasn't as bad as they said. It was once the main force that resisted the black calamity. Mu Xian gave Su Yan a look, telling him to give in as soon as possible. As expected, Mu Xian's prestige in the younger generation was very high. Her origin was very great. Her words had a great effect. These people slightly retracted their dangerous gazes. Xionghan was unhappy. He said with an aggressive tone, "Mu Xian, there are some things you don't know. These great devils in the lower realm are not obedient devils. Although they have been extinct for a long time, once they rise from the ashes, they will be quite troublesome. Moreover, who are the Sky Tyrant Lord and the others? It is not without reason that they use the divine ability to suppress here and intimidate the descendants of the vicious devils. This place only has the graveyard of the human realm. Why is there no graveyard of the losers of the immortal realm?" Su Yan suddenly spoke. This sentence made Mu Xian anxious. The consequences were too serious. There were indeed many experts of the immortal realm who died in the battlefield of gods and devils. They fell in the hands of the experts of the graveyard. But who would dare to mention such a dishonorable thing? The others' expressions changed. Someone pointed at Su Yan and growled, "How dare you? Our Ingjia of the immortal realm suppressed the rebellion of the vicious devils. This is a supreme glory. How can you compare it with these broken bones? This is a great disrespect to the heroes." "What? Not submitting to the immortal realm makes me a vicious devil?" Su Yan sneered and said, "Arrogant prejudice. A failure is a failure. You still want to label me as a hero? Bastard." Xionghan was furious. His entire aura surged by a large amount, as if an ancient giant bear was reviving. His roar shook the heavens as he shouted, "You dare to disgrace the heroes of the immortal world here? You're definitely a tainted bug from the lower realm that walked the demonic path. I'll suppress you and let you understand what the orthodox path of immortality is." "Xionghan, don't be rash," Mu Xan said anxiously. "Even if he is from the lower realm, he is not an enemy." "Mu Xan," Xionghan said coldly. "He insulted the martyrs and should be punished. Don't say any more. Otherwise, if this matter reaches the ears of the Emperor race, your grandfather will not be able to protect you. However, I will not kill him. I will suppress him and hand him over to the Marquis to be judged for his crimes." "Mu Xian, you said that if you open the battle of the strongest, you will be crowned king?" Su Yin did not even look at Xionghan. He asked curiously, could it be that in the immortal realm, as long as one was crowned king, they would have enough power to speak? Mu Xian smiled bitterly. The other's expressions turned cold. There were even some people who couldn't help but laugh. What kind of place did he think this was? Some felt that Su Yin was most likely crazy. He did not even know what being crowned king was. He was definitely from the lower realm. He even said that he wanted to open the battle of the strongest. This was really crazy. Being crowned king was not on the battlefield of gods and demons. One had to win the battle of the kings to have a certain qualification. Of course, it was only the qualification. The hope of being crowned king was very slim. Even the geniuses of the emperor race did not dare to say that they could succeed directly. Of course, every time one was born, they could also obtain the great luck of the immortal realm. In every era, being crowned king after a battle was rare. Of course, there was also being crowned emperor in the legends. That was even more terrifying. However, it was an ancient legend that had not appeared for countless years. "You lunatic, give me your life." Xionghan attacked, pouncing towards Su Yin. He directly used his strongest move. An ancient giant bear appeared behind him, carrying a monstrous aura of blood qi as it attacked Su Yin. "Jumping clown, you dare take action against me?" Su Yin released a short shout. His aura was extremely terrifying and powerful, as if he was the overlord of a generation. He almost instantly stood at the peak. The heavens were shaking. The earth was trembling. The lonely sea of stars rumbled as well. The battlefield of gods and demons was awakened by Su Yan's aura. In almost an instant, a great divine might erupted in the battlefield of gods and demons, startling all the participants. "Who is it?" Too many people cried out in alarm. The aura that suddenly appeared was too domineering. They all watched as an indomitable overlord rose into the air from the graveyard's boundary. He roared towards the heavens, the starry domain surging, the boundless earth caving in. Mu Xian was stupefied. The nearby experts who wanted to take action against Su Yin were sent flying. As for Xionghan, he was trembling, his heart filled with fear. Who was he facing? Could it be an emperor from the lower realm who slaughtered his way here? He was crazy. Immediately afterwards, Mu Xian was stupefied. Su Yan's aura resonated, striking towards all of the monuments. With an exceptionally domineering stance, he swept through all of the victors, about to suppress them. He truly opened up the most powerful battlefield, about to sweep through the entire battlefield of gods and demons. "I'm going to bring you all home." Su Yin roared, shaking up the battlefield of gods and demons. It was incomparably wild and domineering. The entire graveyard rumbled, about to attack with Su Yin. Chapter 17:30. The battlefield of gods and devils rumbled because of the aura emitted by one person. "Who are you?" Xionghan was in despair and fear. What kind of expert was he facing? Was he really the descendant of the lower realm's ferocious devil? How could he be so ridiculously strong? Although the clan wasn't an emperor clan, they had their own peerless geniuses. However, compared to Su Yin, they didn't seem to be in the same realm. This was a little frightening. Could this person be on par with the peerless geniuses of the emperor clan? Puffed, he was coughing up blood. His bronze skin cracked, and his knees were bent as he knelt on the ground. He couldn't withstand Su Yan's pressure at all. The graveyard resonated with Su Yan's aura. This graveyard was dilapidated and overgrown with weeds. Here, the graveyard was sealed by the peerless geniuses of the celestial world. Even if they died here, it would be in humiliation. But now, they were glowing and blazing. The corpses seemed to have gained sentience and were about to come back to life. The weeds on the graveyard were scattered, and it looked very glorious, especially one of the graves. The corpses lying in the middle were reacting violently. Billions of god and devil runes appeared, outlining a terrifying figure. It seemed to be the strongest god and devil in the battlefield of gods and devils. His corpse seemed to have really come back to life. It let out a low voice, glowed with incomplete will, and emitted boundless flames of war. The corpse burned, and the god and devil runes were endless. Two cold bolts of lightning shot out from his empty eyes, landing on Su Yan. At this moment, Su Yan really found that the 30th generation disciple was still alive. He was especially excited. His chest rose and fell violently, and he let out a Dao voice to the corpse, explaining his origins. Suddenly, Su Yan's heart trembled. He caught an ancient will and guided Su Yan. His mind power involuntarily escaped into the corpse. Layers of boundless dust covered memories penetrated Su Yan's mind power. Su Yan knew who he was. He was called Huaping, and he came from the heaven-burying cave. He was the peerless Ingjia of the era of burial grounds. He was invincible, and extremely glorious. Even the celestial realm was paying close attention. They even wanted Huaping to leave the burial cave and join the Xian people's camp. During the burial ground era, the two powers weren't on good terms. They would often fight, but it was all between the younger generation. Huaping followed his senior brother from the burial ground grotto to the immortal world, but his senior brother died in battle. His corpse was suppressed in the king's battlefield, causing Huaping to go mad with grief and indignation. But he was not a saint and was unable to activate the king's battlefield. In the end, the celestial race said that as long as Huaping could sweep through the battlefield of gods and devils, he would be allowed to leave with 19 senior brothers' corpse. Back then, Huaping had truly swept through the world with unparalleled bravery. He really swept through the battlefield of gods and devils. He really won. What followed next was a period of blood and tears. The Arch race did not approve of it and violated the rules. They sent a large group of the Arch race prodigies to the battlefield of gods and demons, and they worked together to kill Huaping. Su Yan was greatly moved. The celestial realm was jealous of Huaping's talent, so they secretly killed Huaping and buried him in the battlefield of gods and devils. He suffered endless humiliation, and even now, his obsession was still lingering. He had the innate, godly demon body, possessing unparalleled potential. He was extremely powerful and was equivalent to the supreme of the immortal heavenly regions monarch ranking, Su Yan. He was so brilliant and shocking and was given great hope by the burial cave. Yet, he was killed just like that. The celestial realm used such despicable means to kill a young genius. It was too dark, and this made Su Yan's hair stand on end. Perhaps this wasn't the first time something like this had happened before. This is unfair. Su Yan's unwilling roar echoed in Su Yan's ears. He used a special method to preserve his memories, and he wanted to warn the other disciples of the burial cave about the darkness of the celestial realm. From Huaping's fighting spirit, he felt that he wasn't strong enough. Otherwise, he would still be undefeatable even if billions of geniuses attacked him. At this moment, Su Yan caught a special emotion in Huaping's obsession. He knew who his greatest enemy was. It was the Black Calamity. Although the burial ground and the celestial realm didn't get along well, he knew that the celestial realm was powerful, and the burial ground alone wouldn't be able to stop the spread of the Black Calamity. He wanted to unite with the righteous and hot-blooded geniuses of the celestial realm and kill all the enemies in the immortal devil battlefield where the younger generation of the Black Calamity clashed. This was his belief, his ambition, and his hot-blooded dream of becoming a hero. He wanted to trample on the Black Calamity and become a great hero respected by billions of living beings. However, his hot-blooded passion had yet to be unleashed in the immortal devil battlefield, and it was already chilling to the bone. Some of the arrogant monarch races wouldn't look at the strong aura of the lower worlds and would suppress them with blood. His incomplete obsession burned, and he uttered a final sentence. Junior brother from the future, to be able to gain my recognition, it means that you are very strong, stronger than me. It is my dream to be crowned king in one battle, and to take away 19th Senior Brother's corpse. You must help me achieve it. One day, when we reach the Imperial City, we will be crowned king in one battle. This is the goal of all of us. Boom! Su Yan's sea of consciousness rumbled. Billions of immortal devil runes flowed out of the corpse floating in the graveyard. These were innate runes, and they were terrifying and abnormal enough. Billions of runes merged into one, and they evolved into the most powerful immortal devil great path. Su Yan let out a low roar, and his eyes turned red. He saw Hua Ping's corpse disintegrate, and billions of immortal devil runes were imprinted in Su Yan's sea of consciousness, and turned into a great divine ability that could shock the world and make ghosts and gods weep. The dance of gods and devils was a divine ability that almost didn't exist. It originated from Hua Ping's natal divine ability, and it was also an invincible secret art born from nature. Kill! Su Yan let out a loud roar, and the heavens fell and the earth cracked, and ghosts cried and gods howled. It was really the dance of gods and devils, and a bloody battle in the sky. The world exploded, and countless cracks appeared. No! Xiong Han was terrified. Xiong Han was terrified and in despair. He wanted to spread the news of what he saw. Su Yan was definitely a direct disciple of the heaven-burying grotto, and this bloodline still had fate and had not been completely severed. Once news of this spread, it would shake the Emperor clans. But he didn't have a chance. His body exploded, and he was roared to death by Su Yan. That's Xiong Han from the Xiong family. The battlefield of gods and devils erupted into a great commotion. This generation of the battlefield of gods and devils was about to come to an end, and the top 1,000 contestants were about to leave. But who would have thought that at the final juncture, someone would open the strongest battlefield? Xiong Han was roared to death, and this created a boundless storm. All eyes gathered on Su Yan's body. Who was he? Did he not know what opening the strongest battlefield meant? That was a great clash with all the King's Seed contestants. Kill him. He's someone from the lower realm, a contaminated bug. I want to take away these broken bones. A woman opened her mouth and let out an ear-piercing scream that spread throughout the battlefield of gods and devils. Almost all the experts of the immortal world's various clans had a great change in expression. An expert from the lower realm had come to open the strongest battle. What kind of joke was this? You're courting death. Su Yan was seething with anger. Even though this woman was running for her life, she was rapidly closing in on the crowd. But under Su Yan's rage, the heavens and the earth trembled. It was as if the human emperor was ruling over the life and death of all living things. Behind him, an image of a sea of blood appeared, reflecting the image of him standing at the peak of the emperor's road and looking down on the world. At the same time, there was a terrifying conviction that was difficult to change. It was like a torrent that crushed forward, and with a rumble, it pressed down on this woman's body. Wah! She spat out large mouthfuls of blood, and her delicate body trembled. She was abnormally terrified. She didn't expect Su Yan to be so terrifying that he could suppress her, even though he was so far away. Have mercy! The heroes of the immortal world were furious. If he was really someone from the lower realm, then this battlefield of gods and devils definitely couldn't allow him to do as he pleased. He had to be suppressed immediately. A large group of experts charged over. The sky was filled with murderous light, and the light of various superpowers bloomed. This caused the entire battlefield of gods and devils to become extremely cruel. Everything was starting to press down on one person. The boundless earth was collapsing as surging tsunamis of energy rumbled over, wreaking havoc between heaven and earth, forming a kind of great momentum, an incomparable great momentum that could suppress unrivaled experts of the same generation, cutting off his path of dominating the most powerful battlefield. But how brave was Su Yan? He wouldn't waste any time, and every second was precious. He was only in his incarnation state, and couldn't maintain his battle strength for a long time. Since he was already here and standing on the battlefield of gods and devils, he wanted to do something. Boom! Su Yan's aura was fully awakened. The top of his head spewed out a majestic light of qi and blood. Accompanied by the chanting of the three heavens technique, it evolved into a magnificent universe that propped up the heavens and suppressed the world. One person against 1,000 seated contestants. This scene was too grand and spectacular. Su Yan's domineering aura overflowed the heavens as he charged forward with his own strength, erupting with enough battle strength. This was an earth-shattering scene that suppressed the hearts of many people. Looking from afar, Su Yan's blood soared into the heavens. His tyrannical aura tore through the sky, and the resonating pressure ahead was shaking chaotically, about to shatter. Kill. In the end, Su Yan charged over. His aura shook the entire battlefield of gods and devils. His brandishing fist transformed into a universe, and within it, gods and devils danced wildly. It was like another Huaping had erupted, and he was writing his own legend of invincibility. Muxian was truly stunned. Su Yan was facing off against a world of heavenly talents and overlords by himself. The energy that they had joined forces to resonate with was pierced through by Su Yan's punch. It was really hard to believe that this was the power of a golden immortal. It was simply like a god-devil imperial star that was slowly rising. Muxian could be considered to have seen many grand spectacles, but this was the first time she had seen such a situation. He faced too many enemies, and along the way, he killed densely. Energy surged like a tide, and the light of all kinds of divine abilities bloomed. But when he punched out, gods and devils danced wildly, and blood soared into the heavens. Along the way, everything was destroyed, ground to pieces, blasted apart. The invincible fist aura surged, surging with the power of a chaotic dance of gods and devils. Millions upon millions of symbols of gods and devils appeared in the sky, forming a scene of heaven and earth destruction. With just one punch, he killed the woman who spoke rudely, along with a group of nearby experts who were charging at him, and they were all blasted away. At the same time, the celestial and devil realms were not calm. The celestial and devil battlefield's stone tablets rumbled fiercely, transmitting a powerful will that swept through the entire celestial and devil ancient world. Originally, because of the explosion of the celestial realm's gate, a large number of experts had gathered in the celestial and devil realms, and there were also Emperor Clan experts who came personally to investigate this matter. Who opened the strongest battlefield of the celestial and devil battlefield? Someone exclaimed. They had not received the news beforehand. Generally speaking, only Emperor Clan geniuses would have the confidence to open the strongest battlefield. But even the Emperor Clan rarely opened this kind of competition, and there were too few successful examples. This matter happened too suddenly, and even Luan Tianwang was shocked. He was moved and said, if there really is a genius who has the qualifications to open the strongest battlefield, then that is also a great thing. Yeah, the celestial realm has been peaceful for too long. I don't know which clan's Ingjia opened the strongest battlefield, but even if he loses, it is still glorious. Haha, Luan Tianwang, you came so quickly. Could it be your reincarnation Emperor Clan's genius? Someone asked. Luan Tianwang smiled and said, you don't say. My clan does have a rising star who wants to start the battle of the strongest in the battlefield of gods and demons. However, he hasn't come yet. He should be on his way now. Many of the spectators were shocked. They did not expect a reincarnation Emperor seed to really walk out. Could it be that they could see two Emperor seeds fight to the death in this battle? If that was the case, then it was not a waste of effort to come here. They could see it. Opening the strongest battlefield. Who knows how many young geniuses will fall? Someone sighed, but Luan Tinwang did not care, and said, "The celestial realm needs elites. The celestial and devil battlefield is about to open." Everyone was shocked. What was that? He could basically be called an emperor's son, and had a trace of hope of becoming an emperor in one battle. Chapter 1731. At the mention of the immortal demon battlefield, the experts gathered here were all shocked. Time passed really fast, and some old monsters knew about it. Every million years, the Emperor clan would announce to the world that they would select the truly invincible young paragons. At the very least, they had to be titled kings to be qualified. This was a selection that could decide the Emperor's son, and it involved billions of clans. The entire immortal world would be waiting for this battle. Calculating the time now, this day was coming very soon. This battle concerned the entire immortal world, and even the honor of all the Emperor clans. No wonder the immortal demon battlefield opened the strongest battle this time. So that's why. Many people were shocked. Once this day came, the Emperor clans would feel a huge pressure. Even the invincible paragons of the Emperor clans would have a high chance of dying in the immortal demon battlefield. In short, the immortal demon battlefield could bet the fate of the entire immortal world on it. After all, the level of the battle involved was very high. At this moment, someone suggested, "Luan Tianwang, since the genius of the Reincarnation Emperor clan is coming, I think you should open the immortal demon battlefield and let us enter to take a look. I also want to know which clan's genius is inside." Luan Tianwang nodded slightly. The vertical eye between his brows stared at the immortal demon battlefield's stone tablet. Soon, the vertical eye shone, and a grand pattern appeared. It vaguely revealed the ancient spirit of the immortal world. The experts here were all envious. This was the noble mark, powerful and prosperous. The number of kings in the immortal world was limited, and Luan Tianwang was one of them. Even his father, the tyrant Tianwang, was one of the scariest kings in the immortal world. Without a doubt, the noble mark had a lot of power in the immortal world. It was a symbol of identity and status. Although the immortal demon battlefield restricted them from entering, with Luan Tianwang leading them, they could enter to watch the battle as long as they didn't break the rules. Is he really the descendant of a demon from the lower world? Why do I feel that he's even scarier than the genius of the Emperor clans? At this moment, in the strongest battlefield of the immortal demon battlefield, killing intent swept across the world, sweeping across all directions. A group of weaker cultivators trembled, and goosebumps rose on their bodies. They all wanted to retreat immediately because they weren't willing to participate in this kind of power struggle. That was because the energy fluctuations emitted by the attacking figure in front of them were too grand and magnificent. It was as if the heavens had collapsed, blotting out the sun and suppressing all the kings. Boom! The murderous aura that filled the sky surged like 100,000 raging waves rushing into the sky. A large number of experts roared. If they were really defeated by Su Yan alone, it would be a great humiliation to all of their clans. If Su Yan really came from the lower realm, then their tribe would definitely be nailed on the pillar of shame. Now, they had no choice but to risk their lives. Kill. There are so many of us. Why should we be afraid of him? A leading expert growled, "I don't believe that he can fight against the power of so many of us. Kill him. Kill." The battlefield of the strongest was in an uproar. Large batches of heaven's prides roared as their life force erupted. Each and every one of them possessed top-notch battle prowess. Once they joined forces to revive, it was as if millions of volcanoes were erupting, forming a boundless torrent of the universe. Who could block such heavenly might? All sorts of supernatural powers bloomed, and countless secret techniques circulated, forming a sea of destruction. Moreover, all sorts of law artifacts appeared, evolving into great killing weapons. Everything was trembling, and nothing could be seen clearly. Heaven and earth were shattered. This was an incomparable, murderous aura, savage to the extreme. In the domain, who could match such heavenly might? Although there were no emperor race heaven's prides in the camp, there were no invincible overlords. But with so many experts joining forces, it was as if they were pushing the taboo ocean to kill Su Yin. Who could match him? Open for me. In the layout of destruction, a blazing figure surged, shooting out sword radiance one after another. They looked very small, silver-white, and blazing. In the instant they gushed out, they emitted a supreme, ferocious might that could cut through the immortal Tao and cut through time. In a terrifying state, when this sword erupted, it split open the taboo ocean, and the sky was also filled with great space-time cracks. A sword of time. Su Yin finally erupted. This was his most invincible battle prowess. It collapsed time, cut through time, and destroyed the immortal Tao. This is the heaven-punishing sword path. Someone cried out in horror, recalling the records in one of the family's ancient records. This was the heaven-punishing sword path of the heaven-punishing series of secret techniques that belonged to the human world. It was even more terrifying than the description. All the experts in the world were cut down by this sword, and large amounts of them declined. Their lifespans seemed to have been cut off. Boom! In a broken world, the blazing figure's chi and blood surged. Heaven and earth trembled, and large amounts of experts also trembled. This was Su Yin erupting. He possessed matchless potential, and there were millions of gods and devils in the sky around him, flickering indeterminately. In the end, it formed a scene of demons dancing wildly, enveloping the entire battlefield, and also targeting everyone. Puff, puff, puff. Groups of experts cried out in despair. They were greatly weakened by a sword that cut through time. Now that they encountered Su Yan's ultimate attack, they couldn't live at all. Large amounts of cultivators' bodies exploded, exploding into balls of bloody light. Too many people died. This region was in chaos, blood flowing like a long river. Kill! Su Yan's berserk nature erupted as he pushed his way through the strongest battlefield. He was completely unstoppable, killing all who stood in his way. I can't take it anymore, some people cried out, crawling on the ground, not wanting to die. Su Yin completely suppressed them to the point that they couldn't breathe. Once they were in the battlefield, they were crushed by the endless power of gods and devils. This was a vast and mighty divine might that swept through the entire battlefield, brutally suppressing everyone's spirit. This was Huaping's innate ability. Back then, he relied on the purgatory of gods and devils to sweep through the strongest battlefield. One had to know that back then, Huaping's situation was even more cruel than Su Yan's. After all, he suddenly joined the battle, and the various races in the immortal world didn't know who Su Yin was. There were no heavenly geniuses or overlords here at all. Back then, Huaping was surrounded and hunted by various races, but he still managed to kill his way out. It was clear how brave and powerful he was. However, he was too dazzling, and the immortal world's emperor race had no choice but to kill him. Back then, during Huaping's battle, there were more participants than these people. At the final moment, a large group of experts charged in and killed Huaping in the end. Now, Su Yin was sweeping through the battlefield with the dance of gods and devils. He was only regretful and unhappy because he was only an incarnation and the number of times he could attack was limited. Once the battle dragged on, his own injuries would become more and more serious. Don't hesitate, attack. At the end of the strongest battlefield road, 10 experts stood in the air. They were the 10 strongest people on the battlefield this time. Mu Xian was among them, and her expression was very complicated. I don't believe that he's from the lower realm. It's very likely that he's from some emperor race. An expert from an ancient family said coldly, I've already received information that the reincarnation emperor race will send heavenly geniuses to start the strongest battle. Maybe this person is here to stop the reincarnation emperor race's experts. No matter who he is, this road can't be broken. Otherwise, he'll pass the strongest battle road. The 10 great experts rushed into the battlefield. They were like 10 great heavenly suns, every one of them powerful and world-shocking. Immortal Tao aura was boundless. Once the 10 great experts joined hands, their power was extremely ridiculous. It had to be said that when the 10 great experts joined hands, their power was much more powerful than before. Just in time, Su Yan's eyes were blazing, his body already blazing to the extreme. The 3 great ancient scriptures finally began to revolve, stimulating Su Yan's aura, terrifying beyond compare. Immortal Tao Final Realm Expert. The 10 great experts lost their composure. Once they approached, Su Yan became even more terrifying, his demonic nature simply erupting, his pores gushing out millions and millions of divine and devil symbols, brandishing the power of the dance of gods and devils, as if he was an overlord born when the heavens were opened. Who dares to receive a fist from me? Su Yan roared loudly, his fist imprint matchless, suppressing the world, its might suppressing the universe. Let me. Someone was angry, instantly rushing up, activating a physical body, ancient heavenly art, his chi and blood surging, his strength also reaching the heavens and the earth. However, when he truly faced Su Yan, this punch was simply like a universe of gods and devils descending from the sky. It forcefully shattered the arm of this top 10 participant, and it struck him to the point his damaged body trembled as he was sent flying far away. Who is that person? At this moment, Luan Tianwang and the others entered the battlefield. The scene that entered their eyes made their hearts roil. This was a young man. His Tao was too majestic. He could defeat a top 10 contestant with a single fist. He was shockingly powerful, killing until the strongest battlefield trembled. There was simply no one who could fight him at close range. Just the overflowing chi and blood surging out from his body carried a heaven-burying aura that covered all things. Luan Tianwang is here. At this moment, a group of defeated contestants rushed over. Someone's voice was trembling. Not good. Luan Tianwang's heart sank. It was indeed not good. This child's battle prowess was extraordinary. Once he encountered the reincarnation Emperor tribe genius, it would most likely be a fierce battle. Once defeated, it would be a great blow to the Emperor tribe. Of course, before they fought, no one could say for sure who would win or lose. In the reincarnation Emperor tribe, there was a supreme emperor art to suppress the fate of the entire tribe. Even if they really encountered another genius of the Emperor tribe, their prestige would not be reduced. What's not good? Someone laughed. I really didn't expect that such a fierce person would come out from the battlefield of gods and devils this time. Very good. If he can really defeat the strongest battlefield, I will personally ask for a reward for him and invite him to the immortal city or even the Emperor's city to further his studies. That's right, I don't know how many years have passed. I didn't expect that such an amazing genius would be born in this generation. If nurtured, the future will be amazing. There is a great hope for him to become a king. A group of old experts had solemn expressions. If they could help a young genius successfully become a king, they would be able to obtain great benefits in the future. Hence, to these old experts, their gazes were burning hot as they stared at Su Yan. Some of them even felt that they should bring along the pearl of their family, who might be able to facilitate a marriage. If there was a king in their family, it would also be a great reputation. Of course, if this person came from Emperor tribe, the hope would be very slim. No Emperor tribe valued bloodline inheritance very much. The group of defeated contestants were stunned. They were really almost petrified. If they told the truth, how would this group of old monsters with terrifying auras feel? One had to know that the one who defeated the strongest battlefield should be from the lower realm. Chapter 1732. The group of losers broke out in cold sweat. They were really tongue-tied and couldn't say anything. This group of old experts was in high spirits. Was there a terrifying aura leaking out that made them unable to breathe? Indeed, if Su Yan was really a heaven's pride of the celestial world, it was worth celebrating. However, the problem was that he wasn't. Of course, they couldn't be sure of Su Yan's specific origin. If they put the name of a heaven's pride of the celestial world as a lower world genius, they would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. For a moment, they didn't dare to speak recklessly and could only wait and see. Boom! In the strongest battlefield, the sound was intense. The light of the primordial spirit spread out like the sea. This attracted the attention of Luan Tian Wang and the others. One of the old experts whispered, "This young man is a descendant of the royal family." I forgot his name. The soul stabilizing bracelet of the Guan family is not an ordinary divine ability. When the Guan family's experts were crowned as kings, this divine ability was of great help. This was a black bracelet. The moment it fell from the sky, it seemed to ignore the defense of time and the great Tao. It fell toward Su Yan's body and hit his skull. The soul-stabilizing bracelet was formed by the combination of Tao and magic. Its killing power was earth-shattering. The other experts in the battlefield were shocked. They felt that if they were hit, their souls would be scattered. Among the top 10 experts in the battlefield of gods and devils, there were a few with extraordinary combat power. The Guan family's young genius was one of them. He used all his strength to control the soul-stabilizing bracelet and attacked Su Yan's primordial spirit. Tut! Su Yan roared loudly towards the sky as his soul core glowed, and it seemed to have transformed into an eternal and inextinguishable blazing sun that emanated solar saint flames while yang qi surged and stretched out like an ocean. And it forcefully roared to the point the soul fixation bracelet split into pieces and exploded into pieces. What kind of monster are you? The Guan family's young genius was shocked. The soul-stabilizing bracelet was broken by the roar. He was really terrified. How terrifying was this young man's primordial spirit? His companions were also shocked. Su Yan's primordial spirit's aura slightly leaked out. It made their souls tremble and showed signs of being burned. His primordial spirit was too blazing. Yang Qi rolled. It was quite incredible. Boom! At the same time, outside the battlefield, Luan Tianwang's qi suddenly became stronger, as if a prehistoric giant beast had risen from the ground, shaking the group of old masters nearby. The qi and blood in their bodies were trembling, and they almost coughed out blood. They were stunned. What was going on? Luan Tianwang's face was extremely dark. His gaze landed on the group of people who had lost, and he asked coldly, "Who is he?" Because, yes, to king, to speak. The people from the lower worlds? Are they the ones who destroyed the territory gates? Luan Tian Wang's blood was boiling. His noble imprint flashed with a bright light. It was as if a corner of the celestial realm was imprinted on it. When the energy was activated, the atmosphere of the realm gate became extremely oppressive. Although Luan Tian Wang couldn't interfere with the realm gate, his power was too strong. His words and actions could affect the environment. Bastard! Luan Tian Wang almost went crazy. Could it be that the expert who destroyed the realm gate was a Daluo realm cultivator? If so, where was the dignity of the celestial realm? His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He quickly realized that the ability Su Yan was using was familiar. He suddenly remembered. Wasn't that Hua Ping's natal ability? Could it be that this person was an expert from the Heaven-Burying Cave? But that shouldn't be. The Heaven-Burying Cave was destroyed long ago. In short, the old experts nearby had ugly expressions. Something big was about to happen. Su Yan was about to break through the entire battlefield. Of the top 10 experts, 4 had already died. The others couldn't stop Su Yan at all. It was too late to ask for help from the Emperor clan's experts. Trash, do you want to die? Luan Tian Wang was furious. His own aura became more and more terrifying. A great divine might was released, causing all the nearby experts to tremble. Luan Tian Wang only hoped that the reincarnation Emperor clan geniuses would come quickly and stop the situation from developing. No matter how strong Su Yan was, since he came, he couldn't go back. You're still not leaving? Su Yan's ferocious aura filled the entire battlefield. His eyes were as sharp as knives as he stared at the experts who were barely holding on one after another. The group of cultivators smiled bitterly. Why did this demon suddenly show mercy and want to spare them? In reality, Su Yan wouldn't kill Mu Xian. This girl had spoken for him before. Of course, his identity was special. Letting Mu Xian go alone would be a great disaster for her. But to the experts who were bitterly holding on, they wanted to leave long ago. They were really envious of the experts who retreated. Now, they couldn't leave. Luan Tian Wang had clearly told them that if they took a step back, they would be killed without mercy. Boom! In an instant, Su Yin exploded. His entire body's majestic energy surged out, forming a shocking scene. The entire strongest battlefield's tunnel rumbled. It was completely shaken by the aura in Su Yan's body. A fist explosion, chaos of gods and demons. Dance disdain for all. Everything became blurry. This was a world where gods and demons danced wildly. He fought bloody battles in the heavens, and his might shook all living beings in the universe. No matter how powerful and shocking the people standing in his way were, they could not stop Su Yan's invincible combat strength. Go! They couldn't take it anymore. They couldn't stop Su Yin at all. Once his fist came, they wouldn't be able to survive. Not only was Su Yan's fist force terrifying, but it also carried a vast power to bury the heavens. It was as if he had buried the entire strongest battlefield. He killed until the battlefield collapsed. One after another, experts were sent flying, and along the way, they were about to explode. Puff! The last few people in the way were sent flying. They coughed up blood, and their bodies were about to rot. They were defeated and fell. In the entire strongest battlefield, only Su Yin was standing in the air. He was ferocious. This bad guy doesn't know how to hold back. Mu Xian curled her lips. She knew that Su Yin had already shown mercy. In the final collision just now, the strongest few on the battlefield of gods and demons could feel Su Yan's strength. Once that punch really came, they wouldn't be able to resist it. Heavens, the devil of the lower realm is going to destroy the strongest battlefield. The distant spectators were endlessly alarmed. This was a major event that would shake the entire celestial world. A group of King Clan seeds had been defeated, unable to withstand Su Yan's power. He swept through the entire battlefield of gods and devils with boundless glory. Even the group of veteran experts that had entered the Fiend God battlefield were shocked. They'd clearly seen that Su Yin hadn't relied on any external forces, and he'd completely crushed his opponents all along the way. He'd swept through the battlefield with a method that pushed through all obstacles. With this person's strength, he could definitely compete with the Emperor race's Ingjia. But wasn't the human realm destroyed? It was reduced to a wasteland. How could such a strong Ingjia walk out? Could it be that the human realm recovered some of its vitality? After all, it had been too long since the human realm was destroyed. In this period of time, the immortal world couldn't find traces of the human realm in the heavens. Therefore, they believed that the human realm had been destroyed. But now, it seemed that this wasn't the case. The human realm still had some vitality. It could still produce young war kings. Luan Tian Wang, has your race's prodigy arrived? Some people were anxious. If the Emperor race's people still didn't come, Su Yin would really have a chance. He could sweep through the strongest battlefield and directly obtain the noble candidate mark. He would have a lot of power in the immortal world. Luan Tian Wang's face was gloomy. He didn't say anything. He had already sent a message. He believed that the Emperor race's prodigy had already received it. They should be here soon. Su Yin stood in the world of the strongest battlefield. He felt a little regretful. After all, he was just an incarnation. He could only exist for a limited time. The successive battles had caused him some losses. He only had one last chance left. Unfortunately, he couldn't compete with the Emperor race's Ingjia. He wanted to see the difference between him and the Emperor race's Ingjia. After knowing about the immortal world, he came to the battlefield of divinity and demons. The stage of the immortal heavenly domain was too small. On this high-end stage of the immortal world, it was hard to know how strong the immortal Tao was. Boom! Suddenly, an earth-shattering aura surged out. At the entrance of the battlefield of divinity and demons, a figure appeared. The terrifying aura that spread out formed a frenzy. Everywhere it passed, a large number of defeated cultivators fell to the ground. They're here. The Emperor race's people are here. Some people shouted, their blood boiling. The Emperor race was the gathering place of the strongest prodigies in the immortal world. Even if the outer race's disciples were outstanding enough, They were qualified to enter the Emperor Road to further their studies. In short, every Emperor race's prodigy had a dreamlike aura. Especially in these long years, the Emperor race's prodigies rarely appeared in the world. Their mythical aura was getting thicker and thicker. Some of the royal race's Ingjia were full of energy, feeling that they could suppress Su Yan. It's the reincarnation Emperor race's prodigy. Everyone in the world cried out in alarm. They saw a dazzling golden figure that was powerful and world-shocking. He attacked all the way over, and along the way, even space collapsed apart with a large crack. Especially his entire body. It was as if it had transformed into the gate of reincarnation, and it surged with a vast rain of reincarnation light. Why is it this child? Luan Tianwang frowned slightly. The person who came wasn't the prodigy who wanted to fight for the strongest battlefield. It was his son, Luan Peng. It's little Peng King. Someone shouted excitedly. His voice spread out in all directions. This caused a great commotion. Someone exclaimed, "Little Peng King, it's a noble-seated contestant." The crowd was shocked. Those who could be hailed as noble-seated contestants had a high possibility of being conferred the title of king in the future. They even had the top combat strength of the immortal path and were powerful and prosperous. Otherwise, no sky pride would be able to bear the title of Little King. Luan Tianwang, isn't this Ingjia who your emperor race wants to fight for the strongest battlefield? A veteran expert frowned. Then, he said, but with little Peng King's strength, it's not difficult for him to suppress the demons from the lower realm. I think we should just let little Peng King take action and take his head. Chapter 1733. Luan Tianwang waved his hand, and a dozen followers quickly rushed over. Pass down my order, seal the divinity and demon world. No one is allowed to enter or leave. Anyone who disobeys will be killed. The followers were shocked. Luan Tianwang had given his noble mark to them. It was obvious that a noble had the right to seal a world. He had great authority. Do it immediately. I don't want this matter to continue spreading. I also don't want anything that happened in the divinity and demon world to spread. Luan Tianwang's expression was cold. This not only involved the battle of the divinity and demon world, but also the revival of the human world. This matter was too big. It had to be kept strictly confidential. The situation in the celestial world was not as simple as people thought. The battle was very complicated. Even the reincarnation emperor family could not control the affairs of the human world. Once the news spread, it would cause a terrible storm. It might even be related to the forbidden history of the ancient era. Therefore, no matter what, the news of the human world could not be spread. All news stopped in the divinity and demon world. Once the noble mark was sealed in the divinity and demon world, no one could leave. Although this would cause a big storm, the Luan Tianwang of the Reincarnation Emperor family had given the order. The other families would give face and not ask too much. After doing all this, Luan Tianwang stared at Su Yan with cold eyes. Even if he won, even if he really passed the strongest battlefield, what could he do? Moreover, his son was extremely strong. Although there was still a gap between him and the heroes of the tribe who came to fight for hegemony, he believed that once the Kuan Peng took action, even if it was unable to suppress Su Yan, it would still be able to stop him from passing the level. This was related to the human world. He couldn't be careless. Maybe he could learn about the history of the human world through Su Yan. At this moment, the gazes of everyone present were focused on the strongest battlefield. Luan Peng had already entered the battlefield and stood in front of Su Yan. He said coldly, "Descendant of the ominous demon, you are really arrogant. You even dare to barge in here. Stop wasting time. Just attack." Su Yan stared coldly at Luan Peng. This person was on the same side as the reincarnation emperor who attacked him. Su Yan's murderous intent surged. Luan Peng was extremely powerful and extraordinary. His flesh shell that was densely covered in golden scales was suffused with a terrifying light of blood essence. Behind him, a somewhat indistinct gate of reincarnation appeared. He stood within it, as if he was a young noble who controlled reincarnation. "You sure are confident," Luan Peng coldly said. "Don't worry. The enemy you're going to face is not me. Very soon, there will be experts from my clan coming over to take your head. If you're scared, then scram. Stop chattering here. There's no end to it. Su Yin coldly snorted. How dare you? Luan Peng was furious. He was young, yet he still possessed the might of a king. He was like a heavenly patrolling war god as he looked down at Su Yin and shouted, You dare to be rude to my reincarnation emperor clan. You truly don't know how to write the word death. What is the reincarnation emperor clan? Su Yan's words caused Luan Peng's expression to turn icy cold to the extreme. Without the divine might of the emperor race, who would dare to offend them? The nearby people were also scared silly. They were stupefied. This person was truly savage. He even dared to humiliate the Reincarnation Emperor clan's clan name. He truly didn't fear provoking a big shot. You're courting death. Luan Tian Wang was also furious. His body was filled with the aura of a king among saints. His might shook the entire battlefield of gods and demons. Who would dare to offend the might of the emperor race, let alone mocking and belittling them? This is already a great crime. Even if it was the flourishing royal clan of the celestial world, they would have to bear the calamity of being exterminated. The emperor race couldn't be humiliated. The whole world had to respect them. There were very few emperor races in the celestial world. However, every emperor race had an unrivaled expert. They were extremely powerful and possessed unrivaled heavenly might. Even if you are the reincarnation of Huaping, you still won't be able to escape death. Luan Peng flew into a rage. His pressure caused the heaven and earth to shake. There was also a terrifying energy ripple being released. It was about to penetrate the entire battlefield. Is Huaping someone you can call? The reincarnation emperor race is despicable. Su Yin angrily rebuked, using underhanded means to manipulate the rules of the battlefield of gods and demons to kill Huaping. You dare to do it, but don't dare to admit it. Bastard, you're full of nonsense. Luan Tian Wang was furious. A terrifying killing intent surged from his eyes. The whole world was in an uproar. What was going on? A few old antiques were dumbstruck. Could it be that there was a hidden agenda behind Huaping's death? You dare to humiliate the Sky Tyrant Lord? In the outside world, a group of defeated people were agitated. They roared, Devil from the lower realm, you're too daring. What evidence do you have to doubt the Emperor race? What evidence do you have to doubt the Sky Tyrant Lord? The Sky Tyrant Lord of the celestial world possessed unrivaled glory and glory. Now, someone stood out and questioned the battle back then. You really don't know the difference between life and death. Luan Peng pointed at Su Yin and shouted, Huaping has already died in battle. He was killed by my grandfather. He only left behind a pile of broken bones to pollute the air of the battlefield of gods and demons. Now, you're using a dead person to slander my race. I think you're really crazy. This is a public case. In the future, I'll make your race kneel in front of his grave and kowtow to admit your wrongs. Su Yan's words shocked all the experts in the world. They were all dumbfounded. Where did he get the confidence to say this? What kind of race was the Emperor race? Even if they really did something wrong, how could a small ant challenge them? Mu Xian was also stunned. She imagined the scene of the Sky Tyrant Lord kneeling in front of Huaping's grave. This scene was really too beautiful. Kill him for me. Sky Tyrant Lord was completely furious. A little devil dared to be so disrespectful to the Emperor race, who gave him the courage. If this was in the outside world, he would have already smashed Su Yin with a slap. Luan Peng was also flustered and exasperated. He really wanted to roar toward the sky. Had the times changed? The people of the lower realm were so savage that they dared to make the Emperor race lower their heads. How long? Luan Peng's aura instantly surged and erupted. The golden flesh shell released blazing reincarnation radiance, filling the entire space-time. Especially the reincarnation gate that appeared behind him. It also instantly became incomparably grand. Little Peng King is invincible. Cries of surprise echoed throughout the world. Some people were even waving flags and shouting battle cries. hoping to see the scene of Little Peng King blasting apart the fanatic with one strike. It had to be said that Luan Peng's battle strength was exceptional. The Emperor race scriptures operated, the reincarnation immortal Tao released. When he erupted with all his might, he seemed to have turned into a reincarnation saint, releasing a might that surpassed the world. Fanatic, why aren't you kneeling down yet? Luan Peng roared out, activating the great divine ability that filled the skies, releasing a terrifying strike. This expanse of space-time caved in, all types of reincarnation radiance surging, drowning out everything. It was almost impossible to find Su Yan's figure. Good. Little Peng King is invincible. It already ended before it even began. Many people cried out loudly, their blood boiling. This was the attack of an Emperor race elite, powerful to the extreme, divine might boundless. Mu Xian felt like Su Yan wasn't that weak, definitely having the qualifications to contend against the Emperor race elite. Sure enough, in the area covered by the rain of reincarnation light, endless divine and devil symbols surged, as if another Huaping revived, standing in the most powerful battlefield. Dong! Su Yan's fist smashed out, gods and devils dancing about, murderous power leaking outwards incomparable. The rain of reincarnation light that covered the sky all exploded. The terrifying fist force carried unmatched heavenly might that could devour the endless river of time, immediately smashing into the reincarnation gate with a honglong noise, releasing a sky-shaking noise. Everyone on the battlefield was shocked. This lower realm expert really wasn't someone to be trifled with, directly approaching the source of Little Peng King's divine ability. One could see that the figure standing in the reincarnation gate trembled fiercely. Even though he looked fine, everyone knew that in the exchange just now, Luan Peng was at a disadvantage, his body shaken by Su Yan. If you can't win, do your best to stop him. At this moment, Luan Tianwang's ancient will transmit it over, waking up Lin Peng, who was in a state of shock. His father's words made him feel humiliated. He was a glorious Emperor race elite. Could it be that he couldn't suppress a vicious devil that rushed up from the lower realm? Roar! Luan Peng roared towards the sky, his essence, energy, and spirit going berserk again, his aura clearly becoming stronger and stronger, releasing the most flourishing battle prowess, shaking the entire battlefield until rumbling sounds rang out endlessly. Kill! He rushed over, killing intent leaking outwards, surging like heavenly blades, tearing apart the heavens. The vertical eye between his brows also opened. Everyone knew that this was the strongest form of the reincarnation Emperor race. The eye of reincarnation shone, scattering down the power of reincarnation origin, covering Luan Peng's flesh shell. This lower realm devil is too much, standing there without moving. He's looking down on Little Peng King. Little Peng King immediately suppressed him. Someone roared in a low voice, somewhat unable to control his emotions, feeling that Su Yan was humiliating Luan Peng. After all, Luan Peng's killing intent surged over, while Su Yan stood there without moving, carrying a mysterious radiance and color, appearing very tall and valiant. All of a sudden, the strongest battlefield changed greatly. There was blood splashing very thick, sprinkling down, dyeing half of the sky red. All the spectators were petrified. The smell of blood was particularly pungent. Who left the blood behind? At the next moment, they all saw that Luan Peng, whose killing intent was surging incessantly, was in the process of charging towards Su Yan. His body was trembling nonstop. Even if he used the reincarnation Emperor races, to suppress the injury of his flesh shell, due to the severity of his injuries, he couldn't suppress it, feeling that his entire body was about to explode. Uffed! In the end, he coughed out blood, falling along the way, his body splitting into pieces. This was a type of berserk, world-destroying power of gods and devils, destroying his body. Even the bones in his body were all fractured. The scene was too tragic. He couldn't endure the power of Su Yan's fist, his injuries continuing to worsen, his body rotting away. His body was in tatters, a tragic sight too horrible to endure. He released a sorrowful roar, wanting to crawl up, rebuild his battle strength to face Su Yan. Even if he could fight a few dozen rounds, it would still be much better than being defeated in such a humiliating manner. However, he no longer had the chance. His body continued to crack as he knelt on the ground, unable to get up. He felt that his body was exceptionally weak. Su Yan's punch just now had destroyed his life essence. It was too overbearing and peerless. I am the Emperor race's Ingjia. My race is invincible. Luan Peng roared, trying to crawl up again and again, unable to kneel before Su Yan. But he still failed again and again, unable to stand up at all. Why are you kneeling in front of me? Su Yan raised his leg, kicking Luan Peng away. The blood-stained Luan Peng fell to his knees in front of Hua Ping's grave. Roar! Luan Peng roared like a madman, his eyes bulging, howling in grief. This was a great humiliation, kneeling before the Sky Tyrant Lord's glorious monument, facing the dilapidated grave, lowering his proud head, about to kowtow. Chapter 1734. The bloody scene stunned the hearts of all the experts in the world. Just a single punch destroyed an Emperor clan elite. This was really a little surreal. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, it would really be a little hard to believe. All the cultivators in the world were stunned. Even the elites from the various king clans were silent. The invincible monument in their hearts was broken, and it was with such a powerful and invincible method that overturned their thinking. They couldn't help but think, were the Emperor clans really invincible legends? Some people felt that the Emperor clans were just legends. The Emperor clan's geniuses weren't really invincible. It was hard to measure what invincibility was. No matter how strong the clans were, it was impossible to produce an invincible Ingjia every generation. Now, the Reincarnation Emperor clan's elite was suppressed with a single punch. This was a cruel reality that was placed in front of their eyes. Mu Xen and some experts who were beaten out of the battlefield looked at each other. You look at me, I look at you. They didn't know what to say, but they also rejoiced in their hearts. This was Su Yan's strongest battle strength. If that punch really came, they wouldn't be able to live at all. This person already showed mercy just now. The demons of the lower realm seem to be different from the legends. A king clan elite muttered. Didn't they say that fire and water were incompatible? If this was really the case, none of them would be able to live. They would all be beaten up by Su Yan. In short, they were still alive now. It was much better than dying. Moreover, the Emperor clan's Ingjia Luan Peng, who is known as a noble seed, was currently experiencing the greatest humiliation of his life. It was really worse than death. Unfilial son. Luan Tianwang almost fainted from anger. Even his primordial spirit was trembling. His entire body was suffused with holy might. A huge figure appeared behind him, filling up the sea of stars. He wanted to reach out a hand and directly kill Luan Peng. Humiliation. This kind of situation was really much better than dying in battle. Once this matter was spread out, the Reincarnation Emperor clan's face was bound to hit the ground. However, no matter how powerful Lin Tianwang was, he couldn't use force on the battlefield of gods and devils. His mournful eyes stared at Su Yan, wishing he could cut him into pieces. Boom! At the same time, countless graveyards rumbled as the lost heroic spirits revived. This place was clearly different. It was as if the heavens were crying as rumbling sounds rang out. This was but an unmatched Emperor clan elite. Kneeling in front of the graveyard was the same as blasting open the gates of an Emperor clan. The remnant souls in the graveyard sensed this, releasing cries of deities and ghosts. At the same time, this matter shocked all of the creatures in this world, all of them petrified. Since ancient times, who dared to do this? Now, it was happening right in front of their eyes. Some people looked at Su Yan. His figure was a bit blurry and illusory, as if he was about to collapse. However, this moment was too glorious, filled with a certain legendary splendor. Was he really someone from the lower realm? Many people were doubtful. Wasn't it said that apart from the lower realm, the other universal dimensions were all wastelands and couldn't produce experts at all? They were even contaminated by the Black Calamity, making it difficult for them to achieve great things. Now, Su Yin had given them enough of a shock. Their hearts were in great turmoil, and it was difficult for them to calm down. There were geniuses in the lower realms as well, and there were also powerful individuals. Time to go. Su Yan's incarnation was about to collapse. It was a pity that he couldn't fight with the Emperor clan geniuses. In fact, Luan Peng was already not weak. Although Su Yan was still a golden immortal and hadn't touched the perfect immortal Dao realm, what was the difference between him and the perfect immortal Dao realm? There was no difference at all. Even if he really stepped on it, it wouldn't increase his combat strength by much. Now, Su Yan's biggest task was to break through to the Daozu realm within a certain period of time, which was also the Saint realm. To Su Yan, being an immortal wasn't important at all. Becoming a king in one battle, wait for me to come again, I will definitely be able to do it. I wonder what kind of test is needed to become a king in one battle. Su Yan was muttering. There was nothing to be reluctant to leave. His figure floated towards the stone tablet of the battlefield of gods and devils. He had to take away the memories in his incarnation. If he didn't leave now, it would be too late. Stay. Heavenly King Luan scolded angrily. My race's geniuses are about to arrive. Stay and fight. Many people were also stunned. Su Yan was going to leave? He had already reached this step. The strongest battlefield was about to end. Once he succeeded, it would shake the immortal world and attract the attention of the various emperor clans. He might even be taken away by other emperor clans. This immortal world wasn't dominated by the reincarnation emperor clan. With Su Yan's achievements, even if he came from the lower world, there would definitely be a group of clans standing out to protect him. Next, the spectators were petrified one after another. Su Yan ignored Heavenly King Luan. This was the will of a king, but Su Yan pretended not to hear it. He is afraid, he doesn't dare. One of Heavenly King Luan's followers shouted. He doesn't dare to clash with the true Emperor clan's geniuses. He is preparing to escape. He deliberately said this to provoke Su Yan, to make him stay and fight. It was the same as provoking Huaping many years ago. He is really preparing to leave. Everyone lost their composure. If Su Yan wanted to leave, no one could stop him. Although kings had special authority, they definitely didn't have the authority to restrict Su Yan from leaving. Moreover, in the battlefield of gods and devils, those who had the qualifications to take action didn't have the ability to stop Su Yan at all. How long? It was also at this time that a terrifying figure rushed into the battlefield of gods and devils. Even the heavens split open, completely unable to block the aura of the expert who rushed in. He is here. The Emperor clan's genius is here. Quickly stop him. An old monster shouted loudly. Luan Peng was still kneeling. The Emperor clans had to wipe away this humiliation. Descendant of the vicious demon, come and receive your death. The Emperor clan's genius rushed over, his blazing eyes overlooking the battlefield of gods and devils. He immediately rushed over when he received the news, but he didn't expect that he was still too late. Su Yan already left. Heavenly King Luan was furious, but he couldn't stop Su Yan. As soon as he left, he rushed into the path below the shattered domain gate, disappearing without a trace. Luan Peng. The Emperor clan's genius's eyes were like purgatory, shooting out two cold streaks of light, landing on the body of Luan Peng, who was kneeling in front of the graveyard. This was the place where the Sky Tyrant lore became famous. But now, Luan Peng was kneeling here. What kind of scandal was this? The clan's face was completely lost. Stand up. The Emperor clan's genius was furious, raising a large hand, about to grab Luan Peng, throw him out. However, as soon as his palm came into contact with Luan Peng's body, a destructive aura instantly burst out from his broken flesh shell. It was as if millions of deities and demons were roaring at the same time, shattering the heavens and earth and unleashing a boundless murderous aura. The Kuan Peng exploded, but the murderous strike Su Yan left behind was still there. This murderous strike was bone-chillingly cold, endlessly spreading outwards. Everyone trembled. Even if it was the murderous strike Su Yan left behind, it was still enough to shock heaven and earth. The instant it completely flowed out, it was as if it could destroy heaven and earth, crushing towards the Emperor clan's genius. At this moment, everyone suspected that there was a special reason why Su Yin left, not to avoid the Emperor clan genius's radiance. The Emperor clan's genius was furious, his aura terrifying to the extreme, as if a terrifying great reincarnation star was rushing over. His entire body surged with killing intent, brandishing a fist imprint, smashing towards the murderous strike that was rushing over. How long? Heaven and earth shook. A crazy tide of energy wreaked havoc. The entire world was stunned. The Emperor clan's genius continuously became stronger. 3 consecutive punches blasting apart the murderous strike Su Yin left behind. But everyone saw blood. The Emperor clan's genius was injured, blood flowing out from his fist. "I will come to kill you. I will return." Vaguely, Su Yan's voice echoed within the murderous strike that exploded. Everyone's fine hairs stood on end. Just how strong was this person? Could it be that he could compete with the Emperor clan's genius? "Come back. I will remove your head." The Emperor clan's genius was furious, the stellar rivers in the sky shaking, the entire great earth trembling, as if the entire battlefield of gods and devils was going to bow down at his feet. Everyone was shocked. What an Emperor clan's genius, truly terrifying and heaven overflowing. Just now, he didn't use his full strength, but now, he was angered to the point of going crazy. His peak fighting strength began to pour out in full force, drowning out the entire battlefield. "Find him. I'm going to kill him." The Emperor clan's genius was extremely angry, cold lightning shooting in all directions from his eyes, killing intent becoming stronger and stronger, sweeping through the battlefield of gods and devils. Seal God and Devil Realm. No one is allowed to leave. Luan Tianwang's face was overcast to the extreme. He had quite a few heirs. Luan Peng could be considered rather outstanding. Now that he died in front of him just like that, how could he not be angry? However, what was the use of being angry? Su Yin already left, no traces of him to be found. The path he followed had previously been studied by the Emperor clan giants. It was basically extremely difficult to continue. Even if they really could continue, they would destroy this vast mountain range. The consequences too severe. The Emperor clans wouldn't be so deranged as to do this. The storms in the God and Devil realm were endless. Unfortunately, this realm had already been sealed. Nothing could leak out. This matter concerned the Emperor clan's reputation. Although the various clans were angry, they couldn't say much. Now that the Reincarnation Emperor clan was in a fit of anger, who dared to stand out and look for trouble? Su Yin returned. His incarnation formed a clear aura and returned through the space-time crack. Along the way, he felt as if he had crossed through one universe era after another. He had a very shocking influence, and even after countless years, it didn't fade. When his clear aura returned to his body, Su Yin let out a long sigh. Buried Heaven Cave had been asleep for 30 years, and too many things had happened after that. Some of them were like a dream. The Grand Supreme he met was just a conversation from another space-time. Am I a heavenly embryo? Am I a creature nurtured by the heavens? Su Yin looked up at the sky and sighed, suddenly feeling that these were not important anymore. He had the most ancient identity, the 33rd generation disciple of Buried Heaven Cave, and also the last generation disciple. He didn't survive in the burial ground era and had encountered a great disaster. He was protected by the ancient celestial emperors and survived. He remembered all of this and the tragic history that he had experienced. Buried Heaven Cave floated above Su Yan's head, and the light of the 33 heavens descended. This might be the final land of fortune in the burial ground era. It turned into a treasure to protect him. This Buried Heaven Cave also carried the remnant thoughts of the prehistoric heroic spirits. Su Yin held the immortal iron staff and looked at the celestial world again. He would go there in the future. It wouldn't be too far away. He had a very clear premonition. What did the ancient celestial emperors encounter in the celestial world? Su Yin frowned and recalled the expert who protected him. He muttered, "His name is Dao Ling, and his surname is Dao." He must be directly related to Fairy Shui. I miss home. I want to go back. Su Yin rushed out and broke through layers of foggy worlds. Finally, he appeared in the Emperor Road's ultimate land of fortune. Good boy, you're finally out. He didn't expect to see the old leader. He was tall and much younger than before. Su Yin vaguely sensed an aura similar to the ancient celestial emperors in the old leader's body. Su Yin was surprised. Could the old leader be the descendant of the ancient celestial emperors? The old leader was very powerful now. He seemed to have become Daozu. What did you see? Dao Shui was also here. She wanted to know the truth as soon as possible. Chapter 1735. Su Yin turned back and looked at the chaotic fog. Layers upon layers of the world of fog were about to collapse and disappear without a trace, returning to nothingness. Everything related to the burial ground era would vanish into thin air and disappear from the world. However, the heaven-burying cave was still there. It hung above Su Yan's head and radiated the light of the 33 layers of heaven. This was the strongest land of fortune in the burial ground. It accompanied the final direct disciple of the burial ground to live in this world. Although Burial Cave was broken, it was of great help to Su Yan. He clenched his fists. Could he be considered the only legacy flame? It's really hard for me to survive. Su Yan's emotions returned to normal. He looked at Dao Shui. When he mentioned Dao Ling, he noticed that Dao Shui's emotions were fluctuating. At that moment, Su Yin understood that Dao Ling was the strongest celestial emperor of the celestial court. Similarly, he was the creator of the Emperor Road. His strength was at an unimaginable level. Above the universe is the immortal realm. The old leader was shocked. This was an extremely ancient and mysterious universe dimension. Above the heavens was unheard of. It was an extremely terrifying stage, full of unknowns. Su Yin had been to the immortal realm before, and had a preliminary understanding of the strength of this world. The environment for growth was even more high-end. Similarly, Su Yan's vision and heart had been broadened. His future growth would not be limited to this world's standard. But many years ago, the ancient celestial emperors went to the immortal realm and never returned. Dao Shui once speculated that the Dao celestial emperor had encountered a huge problem. Otherwise, the top experts of the celestial court would not have attacked the immortal realm. But no one knew what the problem was. To find the answer, the only way was to enter the immortal realm. But Dao Shui believed that with his great-grandfather's strength, even if the immortal realm was strong, and even if all the peerless celestial emperors stood out, they would not be able to stop the Dao celestial emperor. There must be a special reason. Perhaps it was related to the Black Calamity. Before my grandfather left, he created the Emperor's Road and forcefully closed off all the passages between the undying sky realm and the outside world. This means that there are some forces in the immortal world that can threaten the undying sky realm. Of course, there's also the Black Calamity. The world we are standing in is known as the Celestial World. A long time ago, the strongest realm of the celestial major worlds was the human realm, or it could be called the burial ground. Similarly, the human realm was also the gate of the celestial major worlds. When the gate collapsed, the rear suffered a catastrophe. Dao Shui also looked at Su Yan. The purpose of the Emperor Road's existence was not only to protect the heavens that were riddled with holes, but also to protect the sky burial cave. The old leader was speechless. The Emperor Road was not only a training ground, but it also served as a seal. Otherwise, if the Emperor Road did not exist, would the undying heavenly domain still exist? Perhaps it had already been controlled by the immortal realm. At the same time, it also indirectly indicated that the rise of the Xianhuang heavenly domain occurred after the burial ground was destroyed. This Emperor Road was reconstructed from the broken territories of the burial ground. If so, what was the understanding of the battle a million years ago? The things involved in that battle were also very complicated. Dao Shui frowned. All in all, they forced their way into the Emperor Road and paid a heavy price. Of course, this is also related to the fact that the Emperor Road has existed for too long and its defensive energy is weak. Logically speaking, with the strength of the immortal realm, they would not pay attention to this place. So what is their purpose? The old leader said solemnly. If there was nothing to attract them, they would not pay such a heavy price to attack the Emperor Road's final destination. They seem to be here for the Sky Burial Cave. Dao Shui could not be sure. Her eyes scanned the Sky Burial Cave that was suspended above Su Yan's head. She said softly, although this artifact is powerful, it's severely damaged. There's nothing special about it. They must be here for the thing inside the Sky Burial Cave. Was it Su Yan? Impossible. No matter how special Su Yan was, he would not make them pay such a heavy price. One should know that the most powerful force against the Emperor Road's final destination was not the immortal realm, but the calamity that continued from the burial ground era. It was the dark calamity. Although the immortal realm participated, the number of powerhouses who participated was very limited. Su Yan's expression was uncertain. Suddenly, he thought of the reincarnation emperor. He must have paid a heavy price to find the Sky Burial Cave. However, the Dao Heavenly Emperor appeared and interrupted the plan of the Immortal Realms Emperor clan. This also meant that whether it was the Black Calamity or some forces in the Immortal Realm, the thing they wanted was inside the Sky Burial Cave. Su Yan's hair stood on end. What was it? If it was not for him or the Sky Burial Cave, then could it be for that special coffin? According to the Grand Supreme, legend had it that a coffin fell into the human realm, causing a large number of powerhouses from the immortal realm to invade. This was the main reason for the formation of the burial ground era. They did not want to be ruled and slaughtered by the immortal realm. What was that coffin? No one could say for sure. This was a historical mystery that did not exist in the Sky Burial Cave. So, what was the enemy looking for? It was something that involved a lot, and it was related to him. Su Yan could not help but be frightened, or rather, the disaster of the entire heavenly world was caused by some changes caused by that special coffin. If that was the case, it would be too scary. What was hidden behind it? Could it be? Su Yan's mind suddenly trembled. Perhaps it was because of the black and white mist. This was the most special substance in his body, and it was difficult to explain what it was. The two great mists had merged into his body, but Su Yan felt that the strongest treasure had yet to be unleashed. Perhaps when he became a sage, he would be able to unleash the shocking potential of the black and white mist. Was it true? Su Yan could not say for sure. In short, that thing definitely existed. Otherwise, the Black Calamity and the Immortal Realm would not have paid a huge price to invade the Emperor's Road's ultimate land and once again plotted to take the Sky Burial Cave. Did the hundreds of millions of troops of the Celestial Court really die in battle? Su Yan's eyes were red. That was an army of hundreds of millions. Back then, they killed their way into the Emperor's Road's ultimate land and stopped the disaster from spreading. They also saved the dying heavenly embryo, who was now himself. No, Dao Shui said solemnly. No, they killed their way into the outer region. No matter how terrifying the Black Calamity is, it's impossible for them to destroy the hundreds of millions of troops of the Celestial Court in one go. Then, there must be a special reason for them to kill their way out. There must be a special reason for them to leave their home and go on an expedition to the outer region. I suspect that great-grandfather is in trouble. Otherwise, the Xianhuang celestial region would not have been destroyed. Dao Shui's face was a little cold. With hundreds of millions of troops on an expedition to the outer region, the Celestial Court was at its weakest. Even with the protection of the Supreme Celestial Region, its defensive power was not enough. The Xianhuang universe was invaded by the Black Calamity. It should have been completely destroyed and no longer existed. However, the Xianhuang universe survived and came back from the dead. Now, it was repeating itself in the Supreme Celestial Region. With hundreds of millions of troops on an expedition to the outer region, the Xianhuang universe was at its weakest. The Black Calamity swept over. The old leader said angrily, but the Xianhuang universe did not disintegrate. I didn't expect that it was the Xian people and some other forces that almost caused the Xianhuang universe to disintegrate. The Emperor Road's ultimate battle had caused several tragic changes in the Xianhuang universe. Su Yan's eyes flashed with a cold light. The Xian people were really determined to destroy the Celestial Court back then. However, the undying Celestial Region's protective power was left behind by the Celestial Court's ancient Celestial Emperors. Those bastards! Su Yan gritted his teeth. His chest rose and fell violently as anger spewed out. The Black Calamity. In the ancient times, the undying Celestial Region was the human world, and the Xianhuang universe was the Xianhuang Celestial Region. The human world was so terrifying back then. However, under the erosion of the Black Calamity, it was dilapidated compared to the prehistoric times. The Xianhuang universe was the same. It was once prosperous. However, after the battle 1,000,000 years ago, the strongest warriors went on an expedition to the outer region and never returned. Those who stayed were called the Celestial Court's descendants by the later generations. Everything was caused by the Black Calamity, which almost destroyed the entire Celestial Great Worlds. The Celestial World was the main force fighting against the Black Calamity. However, there were also some Emperor clans in that world that were related to the Black Calamity. One had to admit that the problem was very complicated. The Calamity will come again. Although there are still some unsolved mysteries, it will come eventually. Dao Shi looked at Su Yan. In the future, he could only rely on himself to resist the Calamity. The old leader shed tears. Su Yan was shouldering too much. Would he be able to withstand it in the future? My fate is in my own hands, not the heavens. Su Yan's chest rose and fell violently. One day, he would fight his way out. He did not want to be a weak puppet. He wanted to face the Calamity with his strongest power. The terrifying creatures in the sky wanted to kill him and take away his things. He could either surrender or get up and fight. How long can the Emperor Road last? The old leader suddenly asked. This was the biggest problem. Once the ultimate defense was gone, it would be the day of the Great Calamity. The Emperor Road has disappeared. Dao Shi said, but the influence of the Emperor Road is still there. After all, the Emperor Road is a broken territory from the burial ground era. It will gradually merge with the undying heavenly domain. No one can say for sure when. In short, once the influence of the Emperor Road completely disappears, it will be the day of the Great Calamity. The pressure from the future was gradually approaching. Su Yan's eyes flashed coldly. He said, no matter what the future is, we have to solve the current problem first. How is the outside world? Have the Xian people made a move? They have already started. The old leader's eyes were also filled with murderous intent. He said coldly, the forces of the underworld have united and are marching towards the black-yellow universe. This is considered a continuation of the war 1,000,000 years ago. Su Yan's hair fluttered. 1,000,000 years ago, he was a weak person, a child. Now, he was at the peak of his power. He was even stronger than the Supremes. Some problems should be solved, and some enemies should be dealt with. He wanted to participate in the war. Since it was a continuation of the war 1,000,000 years ago, how could he be absent? The undying heavenly domain was now in chaos. The world was filled with panic, murderous intent, and terrifying aura. Terrifying old monsters like the Heaven-Sealing sect had appeared. They called for the world and gathered many of their old friends to join forces and destroy the Celestial Court. Su Xianren rose to power after the Emperor Road battle. He defeated the young geniuses of more than a dozen peak orthodoxies. This also accelerated the war 1,000,000 years ago. The undying heavenly domain entered an era of chaos. The world was filled with blood, and many old monsters were involved. Even the ancestors of the Xian people spread the cruel words that the world was about to be unified. The people of the sovereign sect were shocked. This was equivalent to forcing them to choose a side, forcing them to join forces and attack the Celestial Court to share the treasures left behind by the Celestial Court. Once this alliance came together and completed the earth-shattering task of annihilating the Heavenly Court, then the entire universe would definitely be ruled by this alliance. In a sense, it would already be a grand unification. The world was about to undergo a great change. Once someone could take the next step, he or she might become the leader of this alliance. The world is about to change. Can the heavenly courts withstand the battle that didn't end a million years ago? I wonder what will happen in this war. Let's wait and see. The world was filled with storms. This was the army marching out. They waved their flags and shouted, opening the path to the black-yellow universe. The void created a huge explosion of energy. Horrifying creatures swarmed out of the void. There were also armies marching towards the black-yellow universe. The undying heavenly domain was very far away from the black-yellow universe. Naturally, they couldn't reach there in a short time. In this war, all the races would use their strongest forces to tear the black-yellow universe apart. They wouldn't give the black-yellow universe any time to breathe or a chance to rise from the ashes. Haha, the ancestor of the golden turtle was laughing. It was as if he saw the bleeding celestial court and Su Yin trembling on the ground. This wasn't just about destroying the celestial court. It was also a great liquidation. They were already the strongest creatures. They could control the entire universe. So what if they united? They were qualified to do so. Oh my God, the blood of the 9 cauldron continent is rushing to the sky and suppressing the surrounding continents. Could it be that the Xian people's supreme sect master is about to complete his breakthrough? It's very likely that the supreme sect master of the Xian people will complete his breakthrough and rush to the black-yellow universe before the final war begins. The world was in an uproar. The chaotic energy waves in the undying heavenly domain were getting stronger and stronger. The 9 cauldron continent attracted a lot of attention. It used to be a branch of the celestial court. Now that the supreme sect master of the Xian people was here, it was a provocation to the celestial court. Boom! At this moment, Su Yin and the others rushed out of the blurry Emperor's Road and landed in the undying heavenly domain. Since they're attacking the black-yellow universe, we can also attack their ancestral land and destroy their base. I like to see how they're going to deal with it. The old leader was extremely savage as he spoke these words. How many years has it been? Dao Shi stood in the undying heavenly domain and murmured. She was still a little girl when she followed her grandfather everywhere. She was not only the Dao Celestial Emperor's great-granddaughter, but also his servant. How could a little girl who grew up with the ancient Celestial Emperors not be scary? Then Dao Shi looked at the 9 cauldron continent and said, someone is breaking through in the 9 cauldron continent. It should be an expert of the Xian people. The only thing that could attract Dao Shi's attention was Dao Zu, who was breaking through. Let me do it. I'll kill him. The old leader had been quiet for too many years. He really wanted to move his muscles and bones. Even the slightest bit of his qi and blood released a supreme aura. However, Su Yin stood up first and said, Old leader, it's not appropriate for you to do it. Let me do it first. A supreme sect master of the Dao Zu can't be ignored. The old leader said solemnly. Although he was not Dao Zu, he had already touched on Dao Zu's territory. He just needed to accumulate and break through. Now, he was only half a step away from becoming a Dao Zu. Killing a supreme sect master of the Xian people would not be difficult. Moreover, the old leader was confident that even if he chose to break through now, he would have a high chance of doing so. In the Emperor's Road, he had obtained the good fortune left behind by the ancient celestial emperors. His growth was fast, and his innumerable calamity body had reached perfection. It's fine. I'll kill him. Su Yin was very confident. A golden path appeared under his feet, extending toward the 9 cauldron continent. Chapter 1736. The golden path shone brightly as it extended outwards, its size boundless. The entire continent rumbled as it was suppressed by the golden path that extended outwards. It shone with a myriad of Daos, as if a condensed universe was blooming, resonating with the sound of myriad Daos. Who's there? The experts in the continent were shocked as they looked into the distance. At first, they thought that a terrifying being was on the move, trying to catch up with the Xian people's army and destroy the celestial court together. However, they soon realized that something was wrong. The golden path led to the core of the undying celestial domain. The golden path extended outwards, and three blurry figures could be vaguely seen walking along the golden path towards the Nine Cauldrons continent. The people were shocked. The auras of these three were too powerful, and it was difficult to tell how strong they were. What are they going to do? The undying celestial domain was currently in chaos. Countless terrifying beings were rushing towards the void, marching towards the celestial court. Could it be that there were still some restless beings who wanted to cause trouble in the undying celestial domain? However, some people's faces were pale as they pointed at the location where these people were heading. There was a space-time crack, and they could vaguely see some images of the Emperor Road. They were coming out from the Emperor Road. The experts from the Emperor Road, could they be? The cultivator's scalp went numb. There had been no news of the Emperor ranking supreme Su Yin for decades. Could it be that Su Xianren had come out? If it was really him, where was he going, and what was he going to do? After all, these three experts had joined forces, and they seriously suspected that they were other experts from the Celestial Court. However, the auras of these three were too terrifying. What kind of domain were they in? Something big is going to happen, he said. Currently, all the major factions were attacking the Celestial Court together. Although the Xian people definitely left some protection forces behind, they were definitely not as domineering as they were in their prime. However, if someone was really going to attack them from the back, it would be a serious problem. However, he had some doubts. No matter how heaven-defying and powerful Su Yin was, it was impossible for him to step into Daozu's domain in just a few decades, right? Even if Su Yin had become a supreme, it was impossible for him to start a war with the Xian people. Although the strongest experts of these clans had left, their ancestral lands were not ordinary. A few decades ago, an emperor broke through Daozu's bottleneck. Who would have thought that today, the Xian people's sect master would also break through? Let's go watch the ceremony. At the same time, all the major forces in the undying heavenly domain were shaken. Many of the old elders from the immortal sects came out and brought their most outstanding disciples to the Nine Cauldron continent to watch the ceremony. Once they reached the Daozu realm, they would be interrogated by the most powerful great Tao of heaven and earth. If the younger generation could comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth, it would be of great help to their future growth. Moreover, after crossing into Daozu's realm, auspicious signs would also descend from the heavens, accompanied by the birth of natural luck. The outstanding heroes did not want to miss this opportunity. The undying heavenly domain was filled with endless storms. The first batch of experts that arrived were all stopped by the guardians of the Xian people. They were not allowed to approach the Nine Cauldron prefectures to prevent them from disturbing the Xian people's breakthrough. He's about to succeed, so the old monsters whispered. They could see the vitality released by the Nine Cauldron prefectures. It continued to be strong and vigorous. The Supremes in their peak state were growing stronger. There was no doubt that the Xian people's Supremes were infinitely close to success. The Xian people were excited. Xian Tai ran, and the others roared into the sky. Once the Xian people's Supremes succeeded in breaking through, the Xian people would have another peerless combat power. It would be even more glorious and prosperous. The entire Nine Cauldron prefectures trembled. The great Tao of heaven and earth appeared in the sky. The scene was so grand and magnificent that it had already affected the surrounding prefectures. The Xian people Supremes are really confident. At this moment, more people arrived. Yong Xiuling and the other Emperor Road Sky Prides had also arrived. They landed in the nearby prefectures and stared at the terrifying figure in the Nine Cauldron prefectures. He was roaring at the world's energy sources, stealing the essence of the Nine Cauldron prefectures. The group was horrified. Indeed, the Xian people Supremes had chosen to break through here. They were too confident. This meant that he was very confident. Normally, such people's breakthroughs would cause a series of disasters. Normally, they would choose to break through in their ancestral lands, under the protection of their elders. Moreover, once the Xian people's Supremes completed their breakthroughs, the world's good fortune would befall them. This would further strengthen and nourish the Xian people's ancestral lands. Moreover, Now that the Celestial Court was facing a great calamity, there was no man-made disaster that could threaten the Cien People Supremes. However, he had chosen a breakthrough here. One could imagine how much hatred he had for the Celestial Court. At this moment, his aura was surging endlessly. Heaven and earth resonated, and the sun and moon wailed. A terrifying aura was already blooming. Roar! The Cien People Supremes let out a low roar. Their aura was fully released, bombarding the universe. The scene of their aura drowning the peak of the universe was formed. It was as if there was life breathing, devouring the world's energy sources. Our sect master is about to succeed, Cien Tyran shouted excitedly. He almost prostrated himself before the figure breaking through. At this moment, the Cien People Supremes were too glorious and powerful. After all, the next stage was Daozu. Now, the Cien People's sect master's life force was extremely strong. His aura swallowed the heavens, and his body seemed to be transforming, glowing with boundless essence blood. Yong Xiuling and the others were shocked. This was Daozu. He was really powerful. He was not someone a perfected immortal path could compare to. It could be said that he had soared to the heavens. Everyone below Daozu was like an ant. The world's living beings were panicking and suffocating. At the same time, they were desperately trying to comprehend Daozu's might. This would be of great help to their future cultivation. Boom! The great continent trembled. Terrifying energy swept across the surrounding great continents. The breakthroughs from Supremes to Daozu were not fast. The process required a lot of accumulation. What kind of power did the Cien people have? The Cien People's sect master had already prepared a lot of resources. He took them out one by one to refine them and accelerate his growth. In the process, the Cien People Supremes also sensed the pressure from the great world and the confinement of the great Tao. This was an extremely terrifying torture that wanted to tear him to pieces. The moment this aura filled the air, the world's living beings became silent. They did not dare to breathe loudly. Undoubtedly, the most critical moment had arrived. Whether or not he could break through depended on whether the Cien People Supremes were strong enough. I want to break through. The Cien People Supreme's terrifying figure let out an earth-shattering roar. Kill the Celestial Court, crush Su Yin, and blow up the Inferno Emperor. This was the source of his endless fighting spirit, and it gave him a sufficiently powerful aura. His roars shook the mountains and rivers, and they were accompanied by bone-chilling, killing intent that burned, causing the heaven and earth to tremble violently, and large cracks to appear in the ground. However, at the critical moment when the world's atmosphere was extremely oppressive, the golden great Tao came through the sky and rushed towards the 9 cauldron continents. At the same time, words that did not match the atmosphere exploded, shaking the souls of those who heard them. You're really arrogant. Even if you're Daozu now, you don't have a right? A cold voice swept over, causing a huge commotion. Countless cultivators focused their gazes on the golden great Tao. At the same time, they also caught sight of a blurry and mysterious figure. It was an extremely terrifying pressure. Who's here? He looks familiar. Yong Qiuling's expression changed slightly. Beside her, the beautiful Grand Saintess was also here. She frowned. She also felt that the mysterious expert who suddenly stood out was somewhat familiar. Who are you? Cien Tyran's old face suddenly darkened. He glared at the figure on the golden great Tao. Then his heart trembled. He felt that this person was extremely powerful. He suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "The Cien People Supremes are breaking through. Brother, please stop. He's not mature enough. I'm going to give him some pointers." The expert on the golden great Tao spoke, causing a huge commotion. A large number of spectators were dumbfounded. This was too arrogant. Could it be that a Daozu had come? But even if it was a Daozu, how could he not know what the Cien People Supremes represented? Behind him was the world's most powerful expert, the Cien People's primogenitor. Impudent! How dare you be rude to our Daozu? Come down and fight. At the same time, one Supremes after another charged out from the 9 Cauldron province. Although their chi and blood were weak and they looked old, they were very powerful. They rushed out with great killing weapons. Cien Tyran immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He sneered and said, "You're just the Supremes. Why do you have to belittle our Supremes? You can't be a remnant of the Celestial Court, right? I was wondering who you were. Why do you look so familiar?" Suddenly, Su Yan's gaze fell on Cien Tyran. Under his gaze, Cien Tyran felt his hair stand on end. He felt as if he had been seen through. "Who are you?" Cien Tyran's hair stood on end. He felt that the figure standing before him was somewhat familiar. "What's wrong? How many years has it been? Have you forgotten me?" Su Yan's cold voice exploded, shaking the space. Back then, Cien Tyran had looked down on him. However, Su Yan could look down on him now. "You." In Cien Tyran's eyes, the person before him had boundless turbulence and terror in his pupils. It was as if a sea of chaos was burning. It was boundless and filled the sky. It seemed to represent the heavens. He couldn't see this person's face clearly. However, through his terrifying pupils, he saw a familiar figure creating the heavens and recreating the universe. "It's you." Cien Tyran's scalp almost exploded. Even his face was trembling. He was frightened and fled madly. Even 30 or 40 years ago, Su Yan could have killed him, let alone the current him. A Supremes who were even more powerful than Supremes. What was going on? Everyone in the world was dumbfounded. Cien Tyran fled madly like a mouse that had seen a cat. However, no matter how he fled, he couldn't escape from Su Yan's heaven's eye. The pair of cold eyes seemed to have opened up the heavens of chaos. His killing intent was boundless, and a terrifying aura filled the air. It was even more shocking than the descent of the Milky Way from the 9 heavens. "Arg!" Cien Tyran screamed in despair. His body was crumbling and was about to explode. His heart was filled with great fear. Su Yan had become a supremacy. He was definitely an invincible supremacy in this world. It wasn't just Cien Tyran. The other veteran Supremes of the Cien people couldn't escape the suppression of Su Yan's eye of chaos. The sea of chaos that filled the sky replaced this world. It evolved into an endless killing order that could destroy the heavens and the earth. "Sect Master, save me." One after another, the experts of the Cien people screamed in horror. They couldn't escape from Su Yan's supreme means. Some Supremes were disintegrating into mists of blood. Who? In the world filled with the smell of blood, the Cien people's supremacy who was breaking through was awakened. He let out a loud roar. His hair danced wildly, and a terrifying aura filled the air. The Cien people's experts died one after another. This infuriated the Cien people's supremacy. His aura was so terrifying that it shook the 9 Cauldron province. When he saw Su Yan's face, he roared, "It's you, the trash who escaped from the 9 Cauldron province back then. How dare you come here?" Who was he? The Cien people's sect master was already on the path to Daozu's realm. Su Yan dared to come here. Chapter 1737. Bloodshed ensued, and many of the Cien people's experts died. So what if they were Supremes? They exploded their bodies one after another, unable to withstand Su Yan's heavenly might. He was stronger than the Supremes, and the Supremes were the strongest. One by one, the Cien people's veteran Supremes died in fear. Before they died, their hearts were filled with fear, shame, and anger. It was Su Yan, who was invincible in the Emperor Road. He was the strongest among the younger generation. However, they were Supremes after all, and their combat strength was extraordinary. Facing Su Yan now was like facing a prehistoric monster, and they could only tremble in fear. What was this? His growth was too frightening. Before they died, they were worried for the Cien people. If they couldn't get rid of such an opponent, it was hard to imagine what would happen to the Golden Age when he climbed to Daozu's level in the future. Cien Tyran was the most tragic. Not a single bone was left, and he exploded and died. All the cultivators in the world were stunned. They were shocked from the bottom of their hearts. Who was this person? He was not Daozu at all, but his combat strength was too frightening, especially his Heaven's Eye, which was like the legendary Eye of Chaos. Could it be him? The Grand Saintess exclaimed in her heart. In this world, other than Su Yan, who was invincible in the Emperor Road. Who else could have such combat strength? However, it had only been a few decades. Could it be that Su Yin had become an invincible supremacy and had the ultimate combat strength of the immortal Tao? If it was really Su Yin, then it would be heaven-defying. Now that he was standing here, was he going to challenge the Xian People's Supremes who were about to complete their breakthrough? Why can't I come? Su Yan's killing intent was boundless. He stood on the golden path, and his divine might was vast. An aura that was more shocking than the collapse of the galaxy spread out. He said coldly, "I'm here to kill you. What do you think?" "You trash." The Supremes roared. The supreme being of the Xian people roared. There was nothing he could do to reverse the situation. All the Xian people's experts who had come to watch the ceremony had been killed by Su Yin, exploding into a bloody light. This scene was reflected in the eyes of the supreme being of the Xian people, causing him to bristle with anger. "You killed my disciples and slayed my immortal clan's experts. How impressive!" The energy in Daozu's body roared crazily, and the process was even more severe than the collapse of the heavens and the earth. The entire 9 Cauldron prefectures was shaken, and it bombarded Daozu's realm to the point where it was about to be destroyed. He said, "I've taken over as the chief of the Xian people for 1,000,000 years and experienced countless disasters. How can a junior like you compare to me? You're overestimating yourself." Heaven and earth trembled violently, and the atmosphere surged to the extreme. The 9 Cauldron prefectures produced a frenzied wave of energy. Accompanied by the rumbling of endless order and laws, it rose from the ground with a loud boom and suppressed Su Yin from all directions. The Xian people's supreme being was very confident. He hadn't made a move yet, but he was shaking the immortal Tao's origin in his body. He wanted to kill Su Yin. He didn't believe that Su Yin, who had just stepped in the zenith heavenly realm a few decades ago, wouldn't have sufficient strength even if he had become a supreme being. Even if Su Yin was extremely powerful and invincible among his peers, he was still the supreme being of the Xian people. However, he was, after all, the leader of the immortal clan. He had the great fortune of the immortal clan. After 1,000,000 years of accumulation, he was extremely powerful. He could be called an old monster. Now, he was tearing apart the realm of Tao Ancestor. "Old dog, you're really confident." Su Yan's eyes shone with divine light. He stood at the peak of the golden path. Anyone could sense his intense, killing intent. He wanted to kill the Xian people's supreme being. "I don't need to do it personally to kill you. When I step into Daozu's realm, I'll use the cruelest methods to suppress you for millions of years." Boom! Energy waves surged and swept across the sky. Even though they were very far away, the sound of mountains collapsing and seas splitting could still be heard. The cultivators who were closer to Su Yin were all terrified. They quickly retreated to avoid being affected by the killing order. However, just as they retreated, they realized that their thoughts were wrong. The young expert standing between heaven and earth was too powerful and peerless. The golden path under his feet was like the carrier of the universe. It was indestructible and resisted the Xian people's supreme being Taoist techniques. The destructive power wasn't extinguished. Instead, it became more and more divine. It was as if the long river of the universe lay between heaven and earth. "Old dog, you can't do it. Back then, you controlled your son's physical body and wanted to kill me, but I beat you up. Now that we're standing in the same realm, what can you do to me?" Su Yin said coldly. His words shocked the world. "It's really him, the young demon king, Su Xianren." Su Yin, the supreme being of the monarch ranking, the invincible young overlord of the world. The crowd trembled. They had goosebumps all over their bodies. Su Xianren had the combat strength of a supreme being. It was too dreamy and mythical. "He's Su Xianren, who shook the world with his might," the younger cultivators exclaimed. They looked at Su Yin with reverence. Who didn't know about Su Yan's fame in the Emperor Road? He was invincible among his peers. Yong Xiaoling was speechless. Su Yin had proven his supreme being, supreme being, supreme being. Could it be that he had become an ultimate cultivator of the immortal path? Otherwise, How could he have the courage to challenge the supreme being of the Xian people who was in the process of breaking through Daozu? This was an earth-shattering event. Su Yan's growth had shocked them. He was only one step away from Daozu. Especially now, it was not the Xian people's supreme being hunting Su Yan, but he was the one who took the initiative to fight. Junior, don't be so arrogant. The Xian people's supreme being let out a deep roar. Let's see how I can kill you. I'll let you know that there is always someone better than you. In the immortal heavenly domain, in this world ruled by the immortal path, even if you are a powerful dragon, you will have to lie low or die. Slash. One roar after another shattered the sky and shook the earth. At the same time, rays of dazzling sword rays shot out. Each of them contained the essence of the Xian people's supreme being, as well as his Tao and murderous intent. Tens of millions of sword rays shot across the sky. The murderous intent was as bright as the sea. Just like that, they exploded and went straight for Su Yan. One had to admit that it was a shocking scene. Huge cracks appeared all over the world. Looking from afar, one could see tens of millions of sword rays rising from the Nine Cauldron State, slashing towards another large state, destroying everything in its path. You are the one who should wake up. Su Yan's eyes widened. Suddenly, he roared into the sky. His hair fluttered in the wind. He was like a fiend god who had been unsealed. He swept across the outer realm and slashed down at the Nine Hells Purgatory. Run! The surrounding spectators trembled. Their eardrums were about to explode. Even the blood in their bodies was boiling. The aura of Su Yan's awakened body was too terrifying. They could not withstand it all. Even the patriarchs and supreme beings of the various immortal sect orthodoxies were scared. They all felt that Su Yan was an old monster with a frightening foundation. It was hard to imagine how strong he was. The Grand Holy Maiden and the others paled. They were once experts in the same field as Su Yan, but now the gap between them was too great. It was difficult to compare. Could they still catch up in the future? In an instant, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Ghosts cried and gods howled. Su Yan's physical chi was unsealed. It was terrifying and domineering. Tens of millions of fiend god runes appeared in the sky. The pressure caused the heavens and the earth to tremble. Su Yan had become an invincible supreme being. This was a fact. In their eyes, it suppressed the entire world. Pride and bitterness. What kind of heavenly might was this? Tens of millions of fiend gods were unleashed. The heavens and the earth shook as they fought in the sky. It was as if fiend gods were dancing wildly. With the power to collapse the heavens, they shattered tens of millions of sword rays in an instant. At the same time, Su Yan fully awakened and attacked the Nine Cauldron State. I'm back. He roared into the sky. He raised his head and roared. Today, I, Su Yan, will offer a blood sacrifice to the Xian people's supreme beings to comfort the celestial court's heroic spirits. Kill! At the final moment, Su Yan pushed the light of billions of fiend gods with his towering might. He broke apart the Nine Cauldron State's heavenly structure and forcefully changed Daozu's path. He turned the Nine Cauldron State into a land of slaughter. You've ruined my plans. I'm going to slay your soul. The Xian people's supreme beings were about to go crazy. The heavenly interrogation disappeared. Daozu's path was in chaos. His hair was disheveled, and his eyes were bloodshot. Although he had grown stronger during his breakthrough, he was only a hair's breadth away from Daozu. Now, Su Yan had destroyed him. Although Daozu's path was not completely destroyed, his subsequent plans were ruined. In an instant, his immortal body was terrifying beyond compare. He had the heavens above his head, and he stood on the state. He could summon the wind and rain. Lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The immortal vault great world appeared behind him. Can the Xian people's supreme beings be considered Daozu? Everyone was terrified. The Xian people's supreme beings had changed completely. They were no longer the supreme beings of yesterday. Although Su Yan was a supreme being on the emperor ranking, he was still part of the younger generation. Could he really defeat the supreme beings of the older generation? In the next moment, everyone in the world was shocked. What kind of scene was this? The structure of the fiend gods' dance was becoming more and more shocking. Billions of fiend gods danced. Su Yan's fist aura was monstrous, and it suppressed the world. Especially behind him, the sky burial sea rose. It was as if the blood-stained history that had been silent for billions of years was pressing down. It conveyed the supreme might of the heavens. The power of his physique was superb, and it suppressed the phenomenon of the immortal vault great world. This physique, the Grand Saintess breathed heavily. She had the born Taoism aptitude, but when Su Yan's physique was released, she felt peerless pressure. It was as if she had encountered the mother body of this world, the strongest physique in this world. She felt like she was facing the king of the universe, which made her lose her composure. What exactly was Su Yan's physique? It had never appeared before. Could it be that it was only activated in the Supreme Being domain? Oh my God! Countless people cried out. Wasn't this too powerful? The Xian people's supreme beings were suppressed. The power of the sky burial sea was vast and mighty, and it erupted along with the fiend god's dance. Roar! Vaguely, Su Yan's fist mark was vibrating with all kinds of terrifying energy, accompanied by the roars of billions of fiend gods. The scene was so terrifying that it was enough to suppress people's souls. Oh no! The Xian people's supreme beings cried out. What kind of secret art was this? What kind of physique was this? It was so powerful that it felt like its life was being threatened. He admitted that he had underestimated Su Yan. God knew what he had gained after sleeping for decades. In short, the fist mark was shocking, grand, and domineering. It came just like that. Do you dare to take a punch from me? Su Yan roared. His aura was so terrifying that the heavens and the earth trembled. His unparalleled potential was released, and this attack was peerless. No matter how strong the Xian people's supreme beings were, and how vigorous their qi and blood were, they really fought with Su Yan. The protective divine light around his body exploded, and a superb punch came across. The flesh and blood of the Xian people's supreme beings trembled, and a bloody hole appeared in their chests. Chapter 1738. How could this be? The sect master of the immortal tribe was a mighty figure. He was in charge of the most prosperous immortal sect in the immortal heavenly domain, and his name was known throughout the world. But now he was facing Su Yan, a supreme of the monarch rankings who had only recently matured, and a bloody hole appeared on his body with a single punch. The Xian people's sect master's flesh shell trembled. He couldn't resist the attack, and blood gushed out from his back. Even though it didn't break through the barrier, this strike still frightened everyone in the world. And what kind of supreme art was Su Yan using? The power of the dance of gods and demons was unleashed. This was Huaping's most powerful divine ability. He had almost destroyed the most powerful battlefield with this divine ability. If it weren't for the intervention of the monarch clans, Huaping's achievements would have been too brilliant. Now, Su Yan was using the dance of gods and demons, and had the heaven burial physique to suppress him. The Xian people's sect master was in a terrible state. That punch almost killed him. Die, die. Su Yan attacked. Since he had returned, he would definitely beat up the Xian people's sect master in the 9 Cauldron prefectures in his most glorious and peerless manner. Junior, the Xian people's sect master roared. His hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were wide open in anger. This was humiliation. He was so angry that his body trembled. He didn't care how strong Su Yan was. He had to kill him. Otherwise, the Xian people's dignity would be gone. A young man was beating a sect master of the older generation. If Su Yan really did it, the Xian people would be nailed to the pillar of shame. Boom! The Xian people's sect master activated his race's immortal physique art. His blood-stained flesh shell burned brightly, and the bloodline power in his body was revived. He was the direct disciple of the Xian people's sect master, so he was very powerful. In his frenzied state, his immortal physique art became even more terrifying. In the end, it formed a scene of heaven and earth destruction. Immortal race, supreme beings, terrifying figure shone, surging with immortal splendor that filled the heavens. A series of great divine abilities were released, directly turning into a three-headed, six-armed war god, slaughtering his way over. The Battle of the Pinnacle was about to begin. In a pure physical battle, the Cien people relied on their physical advantages. After all, although their breakthrough had been interrupted, the strength of their physical bodies had soared by a large margin. Every move they made was wrapped in earth-shattering power, and every strike was capable of destroying a supreme being powerhouse. Can this be considered the most terrifying battle in the sovereign domain? Someone growled. The final battle of the black-yellow universe hasn't started yet, but such a thing has happened here. I wonder what the forces of the underworld will think if they know about it. On the contrary, I feel that since Su Yin has made a move, this is definitely the beginning. Using the Cien people as the starting point was a bit too crude. Could it be that he was going to attack the ancestral lands of the various clans and find a way out? If he really had the power to do so, it would truly be heaven-defying. He might even be able to change the current situation of the universe. The two powerhouses clashed together, and a storm of energy engulfed the sky, sweeping through all directions. The entire 9 cauldron provinces rumbled. The mountains, rivers, and earth shook and rose and fell. This was the energy storm that spread out from the bloody battle between the two of them. Boom! A deafening divine sound exploded. In the place where the two powerhouses were fighting, the scene of heaven and earth became blurry, and nothing could be seen. However, there was a bloody light blooming. It was dense and surging, dyeing the dilapidated world red. Oh my God! Is the Cien people's sovereign going to be defeated? Su Xianren is too wild. An old man was frightened. He was a powerhouse of the same generation as the Cien people's sovereign, but now he saw the Cien people's sovereign being crushed. Even in the state of 3 heads and 6 arms. Once he collided with Su Yin, the almost ultimate power of the Cien people made the Cien people tremble. Large amounts of blood rained down. The entire arm of the Cien people's sovereign was crushed by Su Yin, exploding into pieces. His entire body was staggering. Su Yan's attack power was frightening. With a raise of his hand, heaven and earth trembled. His unparalleled potential was released. His aura was grand, and with the power of heaven burial, it suppressed the entire battlefield. He was completely beating up the Cien people's sovereign. How could he resist? No matter how strong his combat power was, no matter how shocking his immortal body was, he couldn't stop Su Yan at all. Some people felt that Su Yan's physique was frightening. In his frenzied state, he punched again and again, crushing the Cien people's arms. In a short period of time, 4 arms exploded, and one of the Cien people's heads was crushed by Su Yan. Roar! The Cien people's sovereign was about to go crazy. His blood-stained body surged with the power of the 4-spirit holy art, but he was crushed again. Su Yan didn't use any other divine abilities. Once he used the dance of gods and devils, he would kill gods and immortals in his way. The 4 supreme sacred beasts were crushed. Su Yan's strength was revived. He stepped forward again, about to crush the entire body of the Cien people's sovereign. Boom! In an instant, an ancient mirror rose behind the Cien people's sovereign. It steamed with chaotic chi and released a grand wave. In an instant, it tore apart the power of heaven burial and opened up the immortal vault world. Kill! The Cien people's sovereign screamed. He controlled the immortal vault habitat and wanted to kill Su Yan. He lost. It was too tragic. It was only a few rounds. Su Yan, is he invincible except for Daozu? The older generation experts sighed. In reality, once the Cien people's sovereign took out the immortal vault habitat, he had already lost. This was one of the most precious treasures of the Cien people. Although it couldn't be compared to treasures like the immortal slaying sword, the immortal vault habitat was one of the 10 most precious treasures of the Cien people. Once this mirror released its aura, Su Yan already felt danger. His essence, soul, body, and Tao all had a bad luck of being cut down by the immortal vast habitat during the process of illumination. Be careful. This mirror can inscribe words. It's very powerful for the body, primordial spirit, and Tao. Back then, the Yin Emperor was suppressed by this treasure. An expert hidden in the dark warned Su Yin. This treasure was indeed powerful. The ancient mirror shot out 3 supreme rays of light. Terrifying laws of order bloomed, forming a huge divine aura that imprisoned Su Yan's primordial spirit, body, and Tao. Boom! As expected, no matter how Su Yin resisted, everything about him was suppressed. It was difficult for him to unleash his strongest combat strength. Kill. The Xian people's sovereign attacked. The immortal vault habitat behind him shone and suppressed Su Yin. At the same time, his combat strength burned, and he attacked Su Yin. However, the moment the immortal vault habitat's power touched Su Yin, a huge explosion occurred, followed by an extremely grand aura. What was this? It was a very frightening scene. Behind Su Yin, the light of the 33 heavens soared. It was as if the 33 layers of supreme laws and orders were blooming. Although it was somewhat blurry and broken, it was still exceptionally powerful. Not good. The Xian people's sovereign's expression changed. The immortal vault habitat was suppressed, and they chose to flee. At this realm, their sixth sense was very strong, and they could predict that they would die in the hands of Su Yin. Even if Heaven Burial Cave was broken and had suffered heavy losses, what kind of treasure was it? How could the immortal vault compare to it? Stop right there. Su Yin was furious. I won't kill you with a treasure or bully the weak. Otherwise, it will be the biggest stain on my record in the sovereign realm. Listen carefully. I'm going to beat you to death with my fist. This is the price you have to pay for interfering with me during the battle of the 10,000 strong. Everyone in the world was shocked. They were stunned and didn't know what to say. The older generation's experts' mouths trembled. This was too domineering. He clearly had invincible means to crush the Xian people's sovereign, but Su Yin wouldn't use it. He wanted to crush the Xian people's sovereign with his strongest combat power. The Xian people's sovereign roared. A huge crack appeared in the sky, and the stars in the outer realms trembled. Wasn't he strong enough? Naturally, it was shocking enough. However, facing the invincible Su Xianren, he was filled with anger and couldn't vent it. Leave? If he left now, he would become a laughing stock. He might as well die in battle. Even if I die in battle, I will cripple you. The Xian people's sovereign went crazy. Even his sea of life was burning. He reconstructed his body with 3 heads and 6 arms. He seemed very crazy and burned all his foundation. His 6 arms held 6 murderous weapons, and his 3 heads emitted the sound of the great Tao. Kill! The Xian people's sovereign roared and charged. The 6 murderous weapons glowed, and everything he had learned was unleashed. Even if he had to destroy Daozu's foundation, even if he had to sacrifice his life, he couldn't let Su Yin have his way. The 6 murderous weapons were all supreme being celestial weapons. They danced in the air and unleashed a thunderous attack on Su Yin. The sovereign heavenly weapons were already powerful enough to kill. Moreover, the 6 murderous weapons were summoned at the same time. They were about to attack Su Yin together. In an instant, an aura that could suppress the entire continent surged. Colorful lights flashed in the sky, forming a 9-colored world. Su Yin roared into the sky, and the stars in the sky appeared. Hundreds of thousands of 9-colored sand spun in the sky and formed a heavenly halberd in the void. The Xian people's sovereign, I'll make you kneel in the ruins of the celestial court and admit defeat with 1 strike. If you don't accept it, I'll destroy your body and soul with a 2nd strike. The cold words exploded, shocking everyone. He's really invincible. All the geniuses in the world were shocked. People as strong as Yang Xiuling were wondering if they would have the confidence to say such words if they were standing in the sovereign realm. Before the attack landed, Su Yin had already spoken. This showed that he had absolute confidence in himself. This was the level of invincibility among his peers. Su Yin rose into the sky, holding the 9-colored heavenly halberd with 1 arm. He descended from the sky, and a huge crack appeared in the sky. The destructive power was too terrifying. It was like a heavenly weapon that fell from the sky, crashing down with a boom. This attack was peerless and domineering. The 6 great ominous weapons exploded one after another. These were the supreme treasures that Su Yin had refined. The stars in the sky could be turned into any weapon. They were excessively heavy and contained an unimaginable power to bury the heavens. At the same time, they also crushed the Xian people's sovereign. The boundless power pressed down on the Xian people's sovereign's shoulder. The immortal race supremacy let out a miserable shriek. It was as if the heavens were truly bearing down on his flesh. Boundless heavenly powers crushed him until his knees cracked. Blood spurted out and shattered bones flew everywhere. It was too tragic. No, he roared. It was impossible for him to kneel before Su Yin. However, he couldn't withstand the power of the 9-colored heavenly halberd at all. The terrifying pressure pressed down on his body. His knees cracked, and he knelt on the ground. A huge crack appeared on the ground, spreading far and wide. He was the Xian people's sovereign who had threatened to step into the realm of Daozu, crush Su Yin, and defeat the Flame Emperor. Now he was kneeling in the 9 tripod states, his body covered in blood. The scene was too horrible to look at. He was the sovereign of the Xian people, the sect master of a prosperous immortal sect. Now, he was suppressed by Su Yin with one arm holding his weapon. Chapter 1739. The bloody scene was too horrible to look at. Su Yin wielded the 9-colored sky halberd and suppressed the Xian people's sect master with one move. He made him kneel in the 9 tripod states, kneel in the ruins of the celestial court, and blood flowed for thousands of miles. The shocking scene stunned all the onlookers in all directions. They were all completely petrified. A sect master of the immortal clan who had completed the initial stage of breaking through to the Tao ancestor realm. A supreme overlord who had been prosperous for 1,000,000 years. Who didn't know how awe-inspiring he was? Who didn't know? In a sense, with the status of the Xian people, their sect master, even a tycoon like Daozu, would not dare to offend him. Now, he was kneeling in the ruins of the celestial court. The scene was so shocking that it made them doubt their lives. It had only been 30 or 40 years. Could it be that Su Yin already had the foundation to become Daozu? In short, the scene in front of them was too surreal. Yong Xiuling and the elites of Emperor Road were dumbfounded. Could it be that Su Yin was already invincible below Daozu? Invincible below Daozu, someone said in a low voice. Was there any suspense? From the beginning to the end, this battle was completely one-sided. Su Yin did not use any external forces and suppressed the Xian people's sect master just like that. His terror was suffocating. This was the belief of invincibility, sharp and domineering. Su Yin, who had been silent for 34 years, was ridiculously powerful. It was as if he had been reborn from the ashes. How could people not be shocked? From now on, there would be a heavyweight in the immortal celestial domain. Strictly speaking, even Daozu would not easily make things difficult for this kind of person. As long as he did not encounter a tycoon like the Xian people's ancestor who had reached the peak of Daozu's realm, it would be fine. Roar! The Xian people's sect master roared. His eyes were bloodshot, and his broken body was full of vitality. The energy in his body surged wildly, trying to shake off the 9-colored sky halberd suppression. Accept your fate, Su Yin coldly shouted. Holding the Fontion halberd with one arm, he subdued the Xian people's sect leader and shouted, "Kowtow to me here and admit your guilt. Then I'll spare your life." His words were like thunder from the 9 heavens, shaking the world, spreading to several continents, and causing a great commotion in the immortal heavenly domain. One had to know that on the day of the breakthrough of the Xian people's sect master, experts for various races had brought along their sects to observe the ceremony. Some great sects had also used their space-time treasures to pay attention to the changes in the 9 cauldrons prefectures. But now, they saw the shocking scene of Su Yin appearing out of nowhere and suppressing the Xian people's sect master. It was too tragic. Even the distant spectators found it hard to look straight. This was the chief of the Xian people, and now he was kneeling in the ruins of the celestial court, suppressed by Su Xianren's Fontion halberd. Why didn't anyone from the Xian people come? Some people had a premonition that something was wrong. Logically speaking, the Xian people should have made a shocking counterattack for such a big incident. Although the Xian people had joined forces to attack the Xianhuang universe, there should be many people left in the ancestral land of the Xian people. Of course, no one thought that since the Xian people only had a few Daozu, there should be a Daozu overseeing the ancestral court. But after such a long time, why was there no movement from the Xian people at all? Could the Xian people just stand by and watch their sect leader be humiliated here? Something's not right. Look! At this moment, an old monster shouted. Using his heavenly eye, he saw that in a distant area from the 9 Cauldrons prefectures, all kinds of apocalyptic lights were whistling. They surged in the outer space and permeated the continents one after another. Energy ripples more turbulent than a tsunami swept out, accompanied by the blooming of the supreme Daozu's heavenly might, causing monstrous waves. Roar! In the distance, heaven and earth were destroyed. A sky-shaking roar was faintly transmitted, accompanied by the blossoming of boundless chi and blood. It blotted out the sky and covered the sun, about to overturn an entire continent. Moreover, the terrifying creature within wanted to cross over to the 9 Cauldrons prefectures, but it was useless. He had been intercepted. In an instant, a shocking aura erupted. Millions of strands of golden chi and blood surged out violently. A tall and old figure brandished a golden fist and bombarded Xian Tianrong. Kill! The old leader roared. Large cracks filled the sky. His aura was too shocking. Golden chi and blood overflowed into the sky. Light of myriad calamities bloomed. His terrifying strength blasted apart the immortal splendor that filled the sky. His entire body was like a blurry pillar that supported the heavens. He was about to transform into an invincible giant. Who's that? It was a shocking scene. The one who attacked was the Xian people's Xian Tianrong. He wanted to rescue the Xian people's sect leader, but it was useless. The terrifying golden fist pierced through everything. The flesh shell that was even more ferocious than a barbaric dragon had turned into a great killing weapon. Xian Tianrong cried out miserably. His body was covered in cracks and was about to explode. What kind of person was this? They were all like Su Yin, possessing an invincible heavenly might. Some people felt that this was a Daozu. Otherwise, how could he suppress Xian Tianrong? A quasi-Daozu who was about to step into the Daozu realm. Some old monsters roared. Could it be that the next Daozu was about to emerge from the celestial court? How many years had it been since the Flame Emperor's breakthrough? Oh, Xian Tianrong roared. He was being crushed. After all, he was old and his life force was exhausted. Facing the old leader who had just stepped into the quasi-Daozu realm, he was nothing. The shocking battle shook dozens of prefectures. Some people were confused. What was going on? It was clear that the Xian people's major forces had joined forces to attack the Xianhuang universe. But what was happening now? Could it be that they were going to take a shortcut? The old leader has already become a quasi-Daozu. Xian Tianrong rushed out to rescue him, but he was stopped. Then who is targeting the Xian people's sect leader? Could it be that Boss Su has made his move? In the Xian people's ancestral land, Zhu Sheng was dumbfounded. The Xian people were already in chaos, and the ancestral land could not calm down. A large group of experts was preparing to follow Xian Tianrong out, but in the end, they were scared stiff. Xian Tianrong was being beaten up by the old leader's huge fist. His head was bleeding profusely. It was a tragic sight. Zhu Sheng wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Su Yin and the others couldn't be planning to attack the Xian people, could they? The Xian people's foundation was shocking. Even if they had the strength of a Daozu, they might not be able to take them down. Moreover, if something so serious happened, the ancestors of the Xian people would be the first to know about it. No matter what, the war had already begun. This was a war of life and death. If they lost, their entire race would be destroyed. You evil creature! In the 9 Cauldron states, the Xian people's sect leader's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He was so angry that he was about to explode. Roar! He let out a roar. His forehead burned brightly, and his primordial spirit burned. In an instant, he struck out. His primordial spirit filled the world and contained boundless soul chi. This was his primordial spirit that he had refined for 1,000,000 years. Once released, billions of killing power formed a huge heaven's eye, which flowed with the light of heaven's execution. The Xian people sect leader had almost burned his entire primordial spirit's origin to form the heaven's execution eye. The entire 9 cauldron states darkened, as if the heavens I had been born. Vaguely, billions of killing lights were formed, and they were about to tear Su Yan's primordial spirit apart. Even someone as powerful as Su Yan felt a piercing pain in his primordial spirit. His primordial spirit was about to fall into hell and be judged by death. At this moment, Su Yan's pupils burned brightly. It was as if the sea of chaos was rotating as he faced the heaven's execution eye. Moreover, 3 layers of the unparalleled heavenly art order flashed in his eyes. They turned into the carrier of the vast universe and resisted the power of the heaven's execution eye. How is this possible? The Xian people's sect leader roared. This was the heaven's execution eye, his ultimate trump card. Now, Sun had blocked it directly. Even the chaos in his pupils was as deep as an ancient universe. Was this the legendary heavenly eye of chaos? As Su Yan's pupils opened and closed, the world flickered. Time and space cracked. Even the Xian people's sect leader's body was trembling. He was about to explode as Su Yan's pupils opened and closed. He was truly terrified. He was trembling. What was this? He was like a child in front of Su Yan. He couldn't unleash his true strength at all. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't be compared to Su Yan. The two of them weren't on the same level at all. Although Su Yan wasn't a paragon, he was more powerful than a paragon. A paragon was truly like an ultimate expert of the immortal path. He let out a loud roar that shook heaven and earth. The 9 cauldrons province shook. The Xian people's sect leader's body also started to melt. Boom! Suddenly, just as the Xian people's sect leader's body exploded, an unknown aura was released. It contained great fear and also resisted Su Yan's power. The Xian people's ancestor, someone shouted in horror. This was the mark of the Xian people's ancestor coming back to life. It seemed to have crossed over from a distant world and was about to rush into this world. However, in the next moment, Su Yan's hair danced wildly. His killing intent filled the sky. So what if it was the ancestor's mark now? Although it still contained some of the Xian people's ancestors' power, the current Su Yan had nothing to fear. Kill! He let out a long roar. The silent burial cave rotated and merged with Su Yan's flesh and blood. In a short period of time, his aura skyrocketed. It could be said that it was terrifying. It was as if he had turned into a holy king. Boom! Under the fearful gazes of the people, the Xian people's ancestors' mark was shattered by Su Yan's punch before it could even appear. It wasn't just here. Xian Tianrong was also beaten to a corner. The activated ancestor's mark couldn't hold on and was directly shattered by the old leader. Everyone in the world went crazy. This was too cruel. He directly shattered the Xian people's ancestor's mark. This was equivalent to declaring war on the Xian people's ancestor. Who is it? Vaguely, a low roar exploded and spread throughout the universe, echoing in the outer space. Gotcha! Huge cracks also appeared, extending far, far away. There was no end in sight. However, in the direction of the source, the Xian people's ancestor's eyes widened. His golden pupils shone as he saw something. He was shocked and furious. Old thing, you gave me a fright. Su Yan was shocked as well. Suddenly, a huge head squeezed out between heaven and earth. This was the head of the Xian people's ancestor. The power of his Abhijna pressed down on the 9 tripod states. You trash! How dare you hurt my disciple? The primogenitor of the immortal race was enraged as his terrifying head shone brightly. However, it was too blurry. After all, the distance was simply too far. No matter how strong the fighting strength of the primogenitor of the immortal race was, there was no way he could kill his true body here in a single go. Hurt your disciple? Su Yan laughed loudly. He glanced at the Xian people's ancestor's head and shouted coldly, I want to kill him now. What do you do about it? Master, the Xian people's ancestor screamed in fear. He didn't want to die. He was only a small step away from Daozu. He was about to become a giant that could look down on the undying heavenly domain. How could he be willing to die now? How dare you? The Xian people's ancestor shouted angrily, causing a huge change in heaven and earth. A terrifying force was generated to suppress Su Yin. However, Su Yin was different now. No matter how strong the force was, Su Yin was still as strong as ever. He was at the peak of his power. Dong! He punched forward and blasted the body of the Xian people's supreme into a mist of blood. What does your grandpa, Su, not dare to do? He stuck his head out and bared his teeth. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Wait until I smash your dog head. Then I'll go to your lair for a spin. Su Yin glared at the Xian people's ancestor and waved his fist again. In a short period of time, a wave of energy blasted out, shaking the entire world of the 9 tripod states. Crazy. All the onlookers were shocked. This lunatic had attacked. He punched the Xian people's ancestor's huge and blurry head. It seemed like he wanted to smash it into pieces. Chapter 1740. Dog's head. The Grand Saintess felt a little dizzy. She thought she heard wrong. He called the head of the Xian people's ancestor a dog's head. This was clearly very holy and mighty, okay? After all, the head of the celestial race's ancestor possessed an extremely terrifying and shocking power. The projection of the Dharma idol that was projected from such a great distance filled the entire space and time, gushing with the light of endless laws and order. There was no doubt that the Xian people's ancestor was looking down on the gods. He was berating Su Yin to let go of his disciple, or else the consequences would be severe. This was a threat. Similarly, the Xian people's ancestor valued his disciple very much. After all, he was about to step into the realm of Daozu. It would be a pity if he died. However, Su Xianren didn't take the bait. He didn't say a word and directly attacked. He punched the sky and pushed out a terrifying aura. The light of the 33 heavens shook continuously. He was like a saint king who had descended to the peak of the 33 heavens, dominating the universe and the starry sky. Daozu's power. Su Xianren has Daozu's power. What kind of foundation is he relying on? Unbelievable. The old monsters all over the world were shocked. What kind of treasure did Su Xianren use to directly have the combat power of Daozu's level? Even the ancestors of the immortal orthodoxies in the distant world were shocked. This wasn't as simple as Daozu's combat power. It was very likely that he was about to touch the limits of the universe. What kind of treasure was this? Although the burial cave was damaged and its foundation was lost, no matter how badly damaged it was, there was no doubt that the burial cave was terrifying. Now, it was Su Yan's personal killing weapon. Once it was awakened, it would be monstrous. Evil creature. The Xian people's ancestor went crazy. His eyes were wide open in anger. With a loud roar, the land beyond the heavens collapsed. The entire land was about to collapse. Moreover, the world's energy order evolved. This was the resurrection of a corner of the heaven domain. It contained an extremely strong power. The head was blazing. Together with the heaven domain's power of time and space, it resonated and suppressed Su Yin. Su Yin let out a low roar and released his strongest power. The fist seal also became more and more blazing. The light of the 33 layered heavens sputtered out and suddenly shook up with a rumbling sound, forcibly bursting out a big hole. However, the entire process caused Su Yin to shiver. He felt an endless amount of heavenly energy attacking him, trying to kill his main body. If it weren't for the heaven-burying cave stopping him, he would have been killed. Although he possessed the battle prowess of Daozu, he was not as strong as Daozu. Generally speaking, he could not fight against people like the ancestors of the Xian people. Otherwise, he would be the one to perish. Everyone in the world was dumbfounded. Although it was a part of the divine might of the Xian people's ancestors, how many people in the entire world were qualified to stop them? And now Su Yin had done it. His fist imprint was unparalleled, and it shattered everything in its path. The energy that was descending from the sky was disintegrated, and the enormous fist imprint directly smashed apart the head of the Xian people's ancestor. "I'll smash your pig head." This was Su Yan's roar. This race was evil. They joined forces with the Black Calamity and caused the bloody catastrophe 1,000,000 years ago. "Evil creature, I'll come and kill you." Immortal race's ancestor released a furious roar, his killing intent boundless, surging outwards, sweeping through the vast world. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines and began to tremble. There were some who were paralyzed on the ground, gasping for breath, feeling extremely suffocated. The consequences of completely enraging the most powerful giant in the cultivation world were too severe. It was possible that the Xian people's ancestor would return to the immortal heavenly domain to kill Su Yan. Then, the world realized that Su Yan had disappeared without a trace. What's he going to do next? Who knows where this lunatic is going? Is he going to attack the Xian people? This made young Qiuling shake her head. It shouldn't be. Even if Su Yan was crazy, he should know that the ancestral land of the Xian people was not something he could provoke. Only the prehistoric big brother of the celestial court was qualified to attack the ancestral land of the Xian people. But now, the entire Xianwang universe was on high alert, and the peak combatants would not leave the Xianwang universe. The Xian people's sect master is dead. The Xian people's Xian Tianrong is also dead. The two disciples of the Xian people's ancestor were killed in battle. In just half a day, the core of the immortal heavenly domain shook violently. This shocking event shocked the world. This was not a life and death battle between ordinary people or the younger generation. These two were the pillars of the Xian people. They were also sect masters who were about to reach the level of Daozu. But now they were dead. Who did it? Isn't it too fierce? In less than half a day, the two disciples of the Xian people's ancestor were killed. Everyone in the world was talking about it. The development was beyond their expectations. The strongest forces of the Xian people had already joined forces to attack the Xianwang universe. How could such a dramatic turn of events happen in the immortal heavenly domain? The sect master of the monarch ranking, Su Yan, when the news was spread, it was like a flood that shook the world and shocked everyone in the universe. He was once the strongest genius of the younger generation, and now he was one of the top experts in the immortal heavenly domain. He was invincible below the level of Daozu. This was a sign that Su Yan's era was coming. There were even more ridiculous news that Su Yan could possess the power of Daozu for a short period of time. This made the storm in the immortal heavenly domain even more violent. The cultivators in the world were talking about it, and the world was shocked. The younger generation smiled bitterly. This was really looking down on his peers. Su Yan had already taken the lead and stood at the peak of the universe. Who would care about what methods he used? In short, he had the power of a Dao ancestor and was a giant who looked down on the world. Who dares to do this? The Xian people's ancestor will definitely kill Su Xianren. Someone shouted. They felt that Su Yan's life was not long. Once the strongest creature in the world attacked, would Su Yan be able to survive? No matter where he escaped to, he would definitely be found. After all, Su Yan had disappeared. The old leader who killed Xian Tianrong had also disappeared. Someone shouted coldly. Su Yan is doing this to reduce the pressure on the Xianwang universe. But once he does this, it's the same as pushing himself to his death. Just wait and see. He will definitely not be able to escape from the immortal heavenly domain. Storms raged all over the world. But no matter what, Su Yan's strength shocked the world. He was invincible under the Dao ancestor realm. His strength was too great. He suppressed all the supreme experts of the older generation. Did Su Yan possess the ultimate battle prowess of the immortal path? Once he became Daozu, what kind of ferocious realm would he reach? I wonder if the Xian people's ancestor will come. Su Yan muttered in his heart. He had prepared a great killing weapon. In fact, even without Dao Shui, Su Yan was confident that he could kill the Xian people's ancestor. What was it? Naturally, it was the immortal iron staff. When he had followed the old path to the immortal world, the immortal iron staff had absorbed some of the power. It could erupt with the power of an invincible giant. It was absolutely terrifying and could definitely kill the Xian people's ancestor. This killing weapon, Dao Shuyi's beautiful face changed slightly. She silently appeared in front of Su Yan. Her eyes were moved by the immortal iron staff. That was a very strong and domineering elder who took care of her. When she was young, he would often carry her out to play. You know it. Su Yan was shaken. He quickly asked, "It has a weapon spirit, and its remnant body is in the immortal world." Dao Shui sighed and said, "Its owner is very terrifying. Don't use this weapon rashly. It has a killing move that can be used to avoid disaster in the future. Perhaps it also has other uses." Su Yan was also shaken. It seemed like it was a waste to use it to kill the Xian people's ancestor. It could be used to block even more powerful calamities in the future. Where do we go next? The old leader came and said coldly, "Hell, Wondrous Heaven Sect, Xian people." The old leader felt that they had to seize the time and eliminate a group of enemies as quickly as possible. Without a doubt, among the three tribes, Wondrous Heaven Sect was the easiest to attack. However, with Dao Shui here, it would be a waste to attack Wondrous Heaven Sect. While their ancestors were not among the tribes, they had to decide which tribe to attack first. It must be the Xian people. The Xian people's ancestor already knows about the chaos. Let's seize the time and see if we can uproot the Xian people. Su Yan's face also turned cold. Back then, the Xian people's ancestor, Wondrous Heaven Sect's ancestor, and Hell's Lord walked out of the Emperor Road's final destination. Similarly, these three were also the source of the war 1,000,000 years ago, which led to a disaster for the Celestial Court. It was a bloodbath. There were Xian people in the immortal world, so the Xian people of the undying heavenly domain must be closely related to the Xian people of the immortal world. Since they survived back then, it was enough to prove that the Xian people were also involved in the war 1,000,000 years ago. The Emperor Road's final destination. They were the ones who started the war, which should be the reason why they survived. The three powerhouses crossed the immortal state. As for in the outer realm, in the vast and endless void, in this lifeless world, there was no one there. Blazing light bloomed, and cold, killing intent swept across. Along the way, many universes of different sizes roared. The Xian people's ancestor was completely enraged. The death of two of his disciples might even threaten the Xian people's ancestral land. He had to return. The Xian people's ancestral court hid a great secret that could not be discovered by outsiders. What's wrong? The void was too spectacular. This used to be the celestial great world, but the black calamity wreaked havoc and slowly turned into a void of space. It was also very dangerous. Now, terrifying creatures were marching towards the black-yellow universe, preparing to continue the war 1,000,000 years ago that had not ended. The Xian people's ancestor suddenly went crazy and attacked back. This insect has become a supreme. The Lord of the Underworld's face was gloomy. Through the images projected by the Xian people's ancestor, he had captured something. He also saw Su Yan, a child who should have died 1,000,000 years ago, standing in the supreme realm. Su Yan. The terrifying creatures growled at the mention of this person. Among them, some of their outstanding descendants were killed by Su Yan, and some of their proudest descendants were killed. The end of the war on the Emperor Road was a huge slap to their faces. Now, they urgently needed to flatten the black-yellow universe to avenge their humiliation. I have a suggestion. The golden turtle stood up and said coldly, "Let's return together and capture Su Yan, then attack the black-yellow universe." Hearing this, the sealed heaven region's ancestor frowned and said, "This is clearly a stalling tactic. The black-yellow universe knows that it can't stop us, so it's using this method. If Su Yan hides, how are we going to find him? We've wasted too much time." After all, Su Yan was now supreme. Once he hid, it would be very difficult to find him. Of course, I know it's a stalling tactic. The golden turtle's eyes flashed with coldness and hatred. He said coldly, "As long as we capture Su Yan and imprison the strongest young man of the Celestial Court, maybe we don't have to take the initiative. The Celestial Court will come to us." I agree with the Golden Turtle's suggestion. The Lord of the Underworld also said, "We've all returned together." Can't we catch a small ant together? As long as we can suppress Su Yin, it's enough to force the Celestial Court to submit. Anyway, the war has already begun. We don't have to wait too long. Most of them agreed, but they all had their own selfish motives. They want to know what Su Yin had obtained in the Emperor Road's creation land. After all, the creation land had never been opened. Since the Xian people's ancestor had returned, they did not want this secret to be monopolized by the Xian people. They all wanted a share of the pie.